Ethan Ryder's hands were still dirty from a 12-hour construction shift when the police lights flooded the convenience store parking lot, trapping him against his rusted pickup truck while a woman in a $3,000 coat demanded to search his grocery bag. What she found wasn't stolen goods, it was a cheap smoked sausage. But what happened next changed everything. The billionaire CEO, who never smiled, actually laughed, and the exhausted single father somehow walked away with her phone number. Nobody could have predicted that a false accusation in a parking lot would lead to stolen trucks, hidden criminals, a golden retriever named Max, and a romance that would force both of them to choose between the lives they knew and the one thing they never expected to find. If you want to see how far love can go when everything seems impossible, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The rain came down hard that Thursday night, drumming against the cracked windshield of Ethan Ryder's pickup truck as he pulled into the convenience store parking lot. His hands ached from swinging a hammer all day. His shoulders felt like someone had poured concrete into the joints, and his back reminded him with every movement that 32 wasn't as young as it used to be. The digital clock on the dashboard blinked 9:47 p.m. in angry red numbers. He killed the engine and sat there for a moment, listening to the rain. The truck's heater had stopped working 2 weeks ago, and he hadn't had time to fix it. Hadn't had the money either, if he was being honest with himself. Everything that came in went right back out. Rent, groceries, his daughter's school supplies, the electric bill that kept climbing no matter how many lights he turned off. "Just get the milk and get home," he muttered to himself. The store's fluorescent lights looked harsh and unwelcoming through the rain-streaked windows. Ethan grabbed his wallet, thin enough that he could feel the individual bills through the leather, and pushed the truck door open. Cold rain immediately soaked through his work jacket. Inside, the store smelled like old coffee and cleaning solution. The clerk behind the counter barely glanced up from her phone. Ethan headed straight for the refrigerated section in the back, his boots leaving wet prints on the linoleum floor. Milk, bread, and maybe something for dinner tomorrow if he could swing it. He was reaching for a gallon of 2% when his phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chen, his neighbor who watched his daughter after school. "Lily fell asleep on my couch again. No rush picking her up." Ethan smiled despite his exhaustion. Lily was 7 years old and had more energy than should be legally allowed for one small human being. If she'd crashed this early, Mrs. Chen must have actually worn her out with whatever craft project they'd done today. He texted back a quick thank you and grabbed the milk. In the frozen section, he found a package of smoked sausages on sale, the cheap kind that Lily loved, even though they probably contained ingredients he didn't want to think about too hard. He tossed them in his basket. The total came to $18.73. He had a 20 in his wallet and maybe another 15 in his checking account until Friday's paycheck cleared. The clerk rang him up without a word, and Ethan was heading back toward the door when the parking lot outside exploded with red and blue flashing lights. What the hell? Through the rain-streaked windows, he could see a Portland police cruiser blocking the entrance to the lot. Behind it sat a black SUV, one of those luxury models that cost more than he'd make in 5 years. The SUV's doors opened and someone stepped out. Ethan pushed through the store's door, grocery bag in hand, planning to ask the cops to move so he could leave. The rain hit him immediately, soaking through his jacket in seconds. "Sir, stay where you are, please." The voice came from his left. A uniformed officer stood near the entrance, one hand on his belt in that casual but ready stance they all seemed to have. Ethan stopped. "I'm just trying to get home," he said, raising his voice over the rain. "My truck's right there." "We're aware. Just need you to hold tight for a minute." The passenger door of the black SUV opened and a woman stepped out. Even through the rain, Ethan could tell she wasn't a cop. She wore a long charcoal coat that probably cost more than his truck, and her dark hair was pulled back in a way that looked both severe and elegant at the same time. She moved with the kind of confidence that came from knowing she was the most important person in any room she walked into. Behind her, a golden retriever jumped down from the SUV. The dog wore some kind of vest. Not a service dog vest, but something professional looking. The woman walked straight toward Ethan, and as she got closer, he recognized her. Everyone in Portland knew that face. Vivian Hale, the tech CEO who'd built a billion-dollar company before she turned 30. She was on magazine covers, business news shows, and billboards all over the city. and she was currently walking toward him in a convenience store parking lot at 10 p.m. on a Thursday night. Ethan Ryder? Her voice was cool and professional, the kind of voice used to giving orders that people followed. Yeah? Ethan shifted the grocery bag to his other hand. Look, I don't know what this is about, but I need to get home to my daughter. This won't take long. Vivian stopped a few feet away, close enough that he could see her eyes were a startling shade of green. The rain beaded on her expensive coat and rolled off without soaking in. There's been a series of thefts in this area over the past 3 weeks. Properties I own have been targeted. Okay. Ethan glanced at the police officer, then back at Vivian. What's that got to do with me? Max, check. E. The golden retriever moved forward immediately, nose working. The dog circled Ethan once, then sat down directly in front of his grocery bag and looked up at Vivian. He's alerting, Vivian said. Her expression didn't change, but something shifted in her posture. I'm going to need to see what's in that bag. Are you serious right now? Ethan held up the plastic bag. It's milk and sausages from inside that store right there. I bought them 30 seconds ago. Then you won't mind showing me. The police officer had moved closer. Ethan felt anger rising in his chest, the hot, tired kind that came from working all day just to barely scrape by and then getting hassled for buying groceries. But he also knew how this could go if he pushed back too hard. Single dad, dirty work clothes, old truck, arguing with a billionaire in front of cops. He set the bag down and stepped back. Knock yourself out. Vivian crouched down, somehow making even that movement look graceful, and reached into the bag. She pulled out the milk first, examined it briefly, then set it aside. The bread came next, then the package of smoked sausages. Max's tail started wagging. Vivian looked at the sausages, then at the dog, then at Ethan. For a long moment, nobody said anything. The rain kept falling. The police lights kept flashing. Then Vivian Hale did something Ethan would have bet money was impossible. She laughed. It wasn't a polite chuckle or a fake corporate laugh. It was real, surprised and genuine and completely unexpected. She stood up, still holding the package of cheap sausages, and the laugh turned into something that was almost a giggle. You've got to be kidding me, she said. Max, you absolute... She stopped herself, looking down at the dog, who was staring at the sausages like they were the most important thing in the universe. You're trained to detect contraband, not dinner. The police officer stepped closer. Ma'am? It's fine, Officer Brooks. False alert. Vivian looked at Ethan, and he saw something new in her expression. Embarrassment, maybe, or at least the recognition that she'd just made a mistake. I apologize for the inconvenience, Mr. Ryder. My security team has been working around the clock on these thefts, and I wanted to personally oversee the investigation tonight. Max is trained to detect certain chemical signatures associated with stolen electronics and materials, but apparently he's also very interested in processed meat products. So I'm free to go. It wasn't a question. Yes. She handed him back the sausages. Again, my apologies. The thefts have targeted 3 of my properties in this neighborhood, and we've been following up on every possible lead. Ethan took the sausages and put them back in the bag with the milk and bread. His anger had faded into something more complicated. He was still irritated at being stopped and searched, but there was something almost funny about a billion-dollar CEO getting called out by her own dog over cheap convenience store food. Must be hard, he said, personally investigating sausage theft. Vivian's eyebrow went up slightly. Excuse me? I mean, you could have just sent your people to do this, right? But here you are, standing in the rain at 10 p.m. because somebody's stealing from you. He picked up his grocery bag. That level of dedication is either impressive or kind of sad. Haven't decided which yet. The police officer looked like he wanted to intervene, but Vivian held up one hand slightly. She was studying Ethan now with an expression he couldn't quite read. You're very direct, Mr. Ryder. I'm tired, Ms. Hale. I've been working since 6 a.m. I'm soaking wet, and I need to pick up my daughter. Direct is all I've got energy for right now. Fair enough. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a business card. Take this anyway. If you see anything suspicious in the neighborhood, vehicles that don't belong, people hanging around properties that are under construction, I'd appreciate a call. Ethan took the card. Heavy stock, probably expensive. Vivian Hale's name embossed in silver. A phone number, an email address, the logo for Hale Technologies. You give your personal number to everyone you falsely accuse? Only the ones brave enough to criticize me to my face. She smiled, a small thing, but genuine. Have a good night, Mr. Ryder. Chariush! Bitgates. She turned and walked back toward the black SUV, Max trotting at her side. The police officer gave Ethan a long look that said, "You're lucky," then followed her. Within 2 minutes, both vehicles were gone, and Ethan was standing alone in the parking lot, completely soaked, holding a bag of groceries and a business card from one of the richest women in America. He looked down at the card, then at his truck, then back at the card. What the hell just happened? Lily was sprawled across Mrs. Chen's couch when Ethan arrived, one arm hanging off the edge, her mouth slightly open. Mrs. Chen, a retired school teacher who'd lived next door for 30 years, met him at the door. "She helped me make dumplings," the older woman said softly, gesturing to the kitchen where flour still dusted the counter. "Then we read 3 chapters of that dragon book she likes, and she was out like a light." "I really appreciate this, Mrs. Chen." Ethan meant it. The after-school care cost him $200 a month, which was highway robbery, but Mrs. Chen charged him $50 and fed Lily dinner half the time. "She's a good kid, misses her mama sometimes, though. She asked about her today." Ethan's chest tightened. "What'd you tell her?" "Yeah. Same thing you tell her, that her mama loved her very much, but sometimes life gets complicated for grown-ups." Mrs. Chen patted his arm. "You're doing fine, Ethan. Don't let anyone tell you different." He carried Lily to the truck, wrapped in her purple jacket, and buckled her into the booster seat. She didn't wake up even when he hit a pothole that nearly rattled his teeth out. At home, a 2-bedroom apartment in a complex that had seen better days, he carried her inside and tucked her into bed. In the kitchen, he put away the groceries and made himself a sandwich that was mostly mustard and bread. Vivian Hale's business card sat on the counter where he'd tossed it. He picked it up again, studying the embossed lettering. She'd been different than he expected. Not warmer exactly, but more real. The way she'd laughed when she realized her dog had alerted to sausages, that had been genuine. And the way she'd looked at him when he called her out on personally investigating the thefts. Like nobody ever pushed back at her, and she didn't quite know what to make of it. Ethan pulled out his phone. It was after 11 now, way too late to text someone you'd just met. Especially someone like Vivian Hale. He sent the text anyway. "This is the sausage thief. Thanks for not arresting me. If Max needs a character witness, I'm available." He set the phone down and finished his sandwich. 5 minutes later, it buzzed. "Unknown number. Mr. Ryder. I wasn't expecting to hear from you." Ethan. "Figured I'd reach out before you sicked your security team on me again." "Unknown number. Max is not my security team. He's a highly trained detection dog." Ethan. "Who really likes smoked sausages?" Unknown number. "Apparently." There was a pause. Then another text came through. Unknown number. "For what it's worth, I genuinely am sorry about tonight. The thefts have been frustrating, and I'm not accustomed to being wrong." Ethan stared at that last line. Something about the way she'd phrased it, honest and almost vulnerable. Ethan. "Everyone's wrong sometimes. The trick is admitting it." Unknown number. "Is that construction worker wisdom?" Ethan. "That's single dad wisdom. Big difference." He saved her number in his phone under Vivian Sausage Cop and went to take a shower. The hot water felt good on his sore muscles. He stayed under the spray until the tank started running cold, then dried off and fell into bed. His phone buzzed one more time. Vivian. "Are you always this direct with people you've just met?" Ethan smiled in the dark. Ethan. "Only the ones who accuse me of crimes I didn't commit." Vivian. "Fair. Good night, Mr. Ryder." Ethan. "Night." He set the phone on his nightstand and closed his eyes. Tomorrow he had another full day of work, drywall installation on a new commercial building downtown. His alarm would go off at 5:30. He needed sleep. But he lay there for a while, thinking about green eyes and genuine laughter, and the strange feeling that something had just shifted in his life, even if he couldn't quite name what it was. The next day moved in the usual rhythm. Wake up, make breakfast, get Lily ready for school, drop her at Mrs. Chen's, drive to the job site. The crew was already there when he arrived. 6 guys he'd worked with for the past 2 years, all of them good at their jobs and bad at showing up on time. "Ryder, you're late!" Marcus, the foreman, was grinning when he said it. Marcus was 45 and built like he'd been carved from the same lumber they were using on the building. 15 whole minutes. I'm docking your pay. Do it, and I'll tell your wife about that lunch you had with the redhead from accounting. That was a work lunch. At a steakhouse? For 3 hours? Marcus threw a nail gun at him. Ethan caught it easily. Get to work before I fire your smart-ass mouth. The morning passed in the familiar pattern of measure, cut, install, repeat. Drywall was boring work, but it was steady, and Ethan had gotten good at it over the years. By lunch, they'd finished the 3rd floor and were ready to start on the 4th. He ate his sandwich, leftover from last night, sitting on a stack of lumber, his phone in his hand. No new messages. He wasn't sure what he'd been expecting. Vivian Hale was a billionaire CEO. She probably had hundreds of texts to deal with every day. Their conversation last night had been a novelty, nothing more. "Who you texting?" Derek, one of the younger guys on the crew, dropped down beside him. "You got a girlfriend now? Mind your business." "Ooh, he does. What's her name?" "I'm going to throw you off this building." Derek laughed and stole half of Ethan's sandwich. They worked together for the rest of the day, finishing the 4th floor by 6 p.m. Ethan's phone stayed quiet. He told himself it didn't matter, that he'd been stupid to think anything would come from a random encounter in a parking lot. Then at 7:15, just as he was picking Lily up from Mrs. Chen's, his phone buzzed. "Vivian. Question, do you like Thai food?" Ethan stared at the message. Lily was chattering about something that had happened at school, something involving a substitute teacher and a hamster, but he'd stopped listening. Ethan. "Yeah, why?" Vivian. "There's a restaurant near Washington Park. Quiet. Good food. I was thinking of going tomorrow night. If you're interested." His heart did something complicated in his chest. Ethan. "Are you asking me on a date?" Vivian. "I'm asking if you'd like to have dinner. You can interpret that however you want." Ethan. "I've got my daughter." Vivian. "Bring her. Max will be there. Dogs and kids get along, from what I understand." He looked at Lily, who had moved on from the hamster story and was now singing something that sounded vaguely like the alphabet, but wasn't quite right. Ethan. "What time?" Vivian. 7. I'll text you the address. Ethan. "See you then." He put his phone away and focused back on Lily, who had finished her song and was now asking if they could get pizza for dinner. "Not tonight, kiddo, but tomorrow we're going to a fancy restaurant." "Like with cloth napkins?" "Probably." "Do I have to wear a dress?" "You can wear whatever you want." She thought about this very seriously. "I want to wear my dinosaur shirt." "Perfect." That night, after Lily was asleep, Ethan pulled out his one good shirt, a dark blue button-down he'd bought for his cousin's wedding 3 years ago, and tried it on. It still fit, though it was a little tight in the shoulders from all the construction work. He'd need to iron it. Maybe get a haircut, definitely shave. He caught himself in the mirror and stopped. What was he doing? Vivian Hale wasn't interested in him. Not really. This was probably some kind of guilt thing. She'd falsely accused him, and now she felt bad. Or maybe she was bored. Rich people got bored, right? They did weird things for entertainment. But then he remembered the way she'd laughed in the parking lot. The way she'd texted him back last night when she could have easily ignored him. The way she'd said bring her when he mentioned Lily, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Okay," he said to his reflection, "let's see where this goes." Okay. Bon. The restaurant was exactly what he'd expected. One of those places where the menu didn't have prices and the waiters spoke in hushed, reverent tones. Ethan pulled up in his truck, acutely aware of how out of place the vehicle looked among the sleek sedans and luxury SUVs in the parking lot. "This place is fancy," Lily announced from the back seat. She'd insisted on wearing her dinosaur shirt with her purple tutu, and Ethan hadn't had the heart to argue. "Are there going to be lobsters?" "I don't know. Maybe." "I want to see a lobster." "We'll ask." Inside, the hostess took one look at Ethan's truck through the window and her smile went from professional to strained. Do you have a reservation? I'm meeting someone. Vivian Hale? The smile became genuine immediately. Of course, Ms. Hale is already here. Right this way. They were led through the main dining room, all dark wood and soft lighting, to a private section in the back. Vivian was already seated at a corner table, Max lying calmly at her feet. She was wearing a dark green dress that probably cost more than Ethan's monthly rent, and her hair was down around her shoulders. She stood when she saw them. Mr. Ryder, and this must be Lily. Lily, normally shy around strangers, was staring at Max. That's a really big dog. His name is Max. He's very friendly. Would you like to pet him? Lily looked at Ethan for permission. He nodded, and she approached slowly. Max's tail wagged, and within 30 seconds, Lily was sitting on the floor next to him, running her hands through his golden fur. Well, Vivian said, that was easy. Ethan sat down across from her. Up close, he could see faint circles under her eyes, like she hadn't been sleeping well. Thanks for inviting us. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. Why wouldn't I? She gestured vaguely at the restaurant, at herself, at the obvious gap between their worlds. Because this is strange. You know it's strange. I accused you of theft, and now I'm buying you dinner. Normal people don't do this. Are you normal? Not remotely. Then I guess it makes sense. He picked up the menu. No prices, just like he'd thought. What's good here? Everything. I own the building. Of course you do. They ordered. Ethan got something with chicken and vegetables that sounded safe. Vivian got curry, and Lily got plain noodles with butter because she was 7 and had strong opinions about food. While they waited, Lily kept playing with Max, and Ethan found himself actually relaxing. So, Vivian said, tell me about yourself. Construction work, single father, what else? That's pretty much it. Wake up, work, take care of Lily, sleep, repeat. That sounds exhausting. Yes, it is, but it's worth it. He glanced at Lily, who was now trying to teach Max to shake hands. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Her mother? Not in the picture. She left when Lily was 2. Decided motherhood wasn't for her. He said it matter-of-factly, without emotion. He'd made peace with it a long time ago. Vivian's expression softened. That must have been difficult. It was. But we figured it out. He leaned back in his chair. What about you? What's it like running a billion-dollar company? Exhausting. She echoed his earlier word. Everyone wants something from me. Investors want returns. Employees want stability. The board wants growth. The media wants sound bites. I spend most of my time in meetings, listening to people tell me what I should do with my own company. So why do it? Because I built it. Because it's mine. Because walking away would mean admitting that they were right about me. Who's they? Everyone who said I was too young, too inexperienced, too female to run a tech company. She took a sip of water. I've spent the last 8 years proving them wrong. I don't know how to stop. The food arrived, and they ate while Lily provided running commentary on everything Max did. Ethan watched Vivian carefully. She laughed at Lily's jokes, really laughed, the way she had in the parking lot. She asked questions and actually listened to the answers. She didn't check her phone once. Can I ask you something? Ethan said eventually. Yes. Why'd you really invite me here? Vivian set down her fork and looked at him directly, those green eyes again, sharp and assessing. Because you treated me like a person, not a CEO, not a billionaire, not someone to be impressed by or afraid of, just a person who made a mistake. That's rare in my world. I didn't know treating people like people was rare. You'd be surprised. Oh. After dinner, they walked through Washington Park. It was cooler now, the spring evening settling into something crisp and pleasant. Lily ran ahead with Max, both of them chasing after a tennis ball that Vivian produced from her bag. She's good with him, Vivian said. She's good with everyone. Gets that from her grandmother. Ate. They walked in comfortable silence for a while. Other people in the park recognized Vivian. He saw the double takes, the whispered conversations, but she ignored them all. This must be weird for you, Ethan said. Being out in public like this. It's always weird. I'm always being watched. She paused, then added, but tonight it bothers me less than usual. Why? Because I'm choosing to be here. Most of my life is scheduled down to the minute. Meetings, calls, appearances, but this, she gestured at the park, at Lily and Max playing. This is mine. They reached a bench overlooking the pond and Vivian sat down. Ethan joined her. Lily and Max were still playing nearby, close enough to watch but far enough to give them privacy. The thefts, Vivian said suddenly. They're getting worse. 3 more properties hit this week. My security team is useless, and the police are treating it like a low priority because they're construction sites, not occupied buildings. What are they taking? Tools, materials, electronics, anything valuable that can be sold quickly. The last site they hit, they cleared out $50,000 worth of equipment in one night. Ethan whistled low. That's not some random junkie looking for a fix. That's organized. That's what I think, but proving it is another matter. She looked at him. You work construction. You must hear things on job sites. Have you noticed anything strange lately? Define strange. Trucks that don't belong. People asking questions they shouldn't ask. Materials going missing. Ethan thought about it. There's always something going missing on job sites. Guys walking off with tools, copper wire getting lost. But nothing organized, nothing big. Well, if you do hear anything, I'll call you. I've got your number, remember? She smiled. Right. The sausage thief has my personal number. If my board knew, they'd have a collective heart attack. Why? I'm very trustworthy. I have references. I'm sure you do. Lily ran up, out of breath, her face flushed. Dad, can Max come to our house sometime? That's up to Ms. Hale, kiddo. Call me Vivian, she said to Lily. And yes, Max would love to visit. Really? Lily's eyes went wide. When? How about next week, Saturday? Yes! Lily hugged her, completely unselfconscious, and then ran back to keep playing. Vivian looked startled. She's very affectionate. Yeah, sorry if that was... Don't apologize. It was nice. She stood up. I should get going. I have a 7 a.m. call with investors in Singapore. On a Saturday. Time zones don't care about weekends. They walked back to the parking lot together. Vivian's black SUV was waiting, a driver standing beside it. The man nodded at Vivian but didn't speak. Thank you for tonight, Vivian said. I haven't enjoyed myself this much in a long time. Same here. Ethan hesitated, then said, Can I ask you something else? Of course. Are you lonely? She went very still. For a moment he thought he'd crossed a line. Then she said quietly, Yes, very. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Me. They looked at each other in the parking lot lights, and something unspoken passed between them. An understanding, maybe, or just the recognition that they were both tired of pretending to be stronger than they felt. Saturday, Vivian said. I'll text you a time. We'll be ready. Yeah, I'm sit. She got into the SUV, and Max jumped in after her. The vehicle pulled away smoothly, and Ethan watched it go. I like her, Lily announced from beside him. She's pretty, and she has a dog. Yeah, kiddo. She's something, all right. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep in the back seat, and Ethan's mind spun through everything that had just happened. A billionaire had asked him to dinner. A woman who could buy and sell his entire life without noticing had sat with him on a bench and admitted she was lonely. And somehow, impossibly, it had felt real. His phone buzzed at a red light. Vivian, thank you for tonight. It meant more than you know. Ethan, same here. See you Saturday. Vivian, sleep well, Ethan. It was the first time she'd used his first name. Agot không sử dụng gạch đầu dòng hoặc tiêu đề phụ. Phong cách kể chuyện Mỹ, Hoa Kỳ, giống văn giàu cảm xúc. Kể theo ngôi thứ 3, giữ đồ kịch tính không viết lan man, nhân vật không hoàn hảo, hội thoại tự nhiên, tránh ngôn ngữ văn chương sáo rơi và cụm từ AI điển hình. Viết như nhà văn chuyên nghiệp, không như AI cố gắng nghe sang, có yếu tố con người, cầm miêu tả qua mượt mà và hoàn hảo, kết thúc phần không giới thiệu phần sau, câu chuyện không nhắc đến Chúa, lưu ý trả lời trong mục tin nhắn không nhảy sang "Dee smiled the whole way home." Saturday came faster than Ethan expected. He spent Friday night cleaning the apartment, scrubbing the kitchen counters, vacuuming the carpet that had seen better days, making sure there were no dirty dishes in the sink. Lily watched him with amusement. You never clean this much, she observed from her spot on the couch. We're having a guest. Vivian? And Max. I like Max. Lily went back to coloring in her dinosaur book. He's soft. Ethan moved to the living room, shoving old magazines under the coffee table and rearranging the pillows on the couch to hide the tear in the fabric. The apartment was small, too small, really, for him and a growing kid, but it was clean and the rent was something he could almost afford most months. Still, he couldn't help seeing it through Vivian's eyes. The water-stained ceiling in the corner, the blinds that didn't quite close all the way, the second-hand furniture that creaked when you sat on it. Stop it, he muttered to himself. Stop what? Lily looked up. Nothing, kiddo. Keep coloring. His phone buzzed at noon. Vivian. Is 2 p.m. still good? I have a meeting running long. Ethan. That works. See you then. Vivian. Fair warning, I'm bringing lunch. I assume pizza is acceptable? Ethan. Lily will marry you if you bring pizza. Vivian. Noted. At 1:30, Ethan changed his shirt for the third time. The blue button-down felt too formal. The gray t-shirt felt too casual. He finally settled on a dark green Henley that Lily said made him look like a normal dad, which he chose to take as a compliment. The knock came at exactly 2 p.m. Vivian stood in the hallway holding 2 pizza boxes, Max sitting patiently at her side. She dressed down, jeans, a simple white blouse, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. Without the designer coat and the boardroom armor, she looked younger, more human. Hi, she said. Hi yourself. Come in. Max entered first, tail wagging, and Lily squealed with delight. Within seconds, she was on the floor with the dog, and Vivian was setting the pizza boxes on Ethan's kitchen counter. I didn't know what you liked, so I got 3 kinds, she said. Pepperoni, vegetable, and something the place called Portland Special that has way too many toppings. You didn't have to do all this. I wanted to. She looked around the apartment, and Ethan braced himself for judgment, but her expression stayed neutral. This is nice, cozy. It's small. Small isn't bad. My penthouse has 5 bedrooms, and I use one of them. The rest are just empty space. She opened one of the pizza boxes. Should we eat? Bite? Yeah. They ate at the kitchen table, the 4 of them crammed around a surface meant for 2, and Lily dominated the conversation with stories about school, her best friend Emma, and a complicated drama involving who got to feed the class hamster. Vivian listened like Lily was discussing corporate mergers instead of elementary school politics. So Emma said I could feed Mr. Whiskers on Tuesday, but then Madison said she already had Tuesday, and Mrs. Palmer had to make a whole chart, Lily explained, gesturing with a slice of pepperoni pizza. It was very stressful. Sounds like it, Vivian said seriously. What did the chart decide? I get Fridays now, which is good because Emma has Mondays and we can coordinate. Coordinate what? Our hamster strategy. Say it. Ethan caught Vivian's eye across the table and saw her fighting back a smile. After lunch, Lily dragged Max into her bedroom to show him her stuffed animal collection, leaving Ethan and Vivian alone in the kitchen. She's wonderful, Vivian said quietly. You're doing a good job with her. Most days I feel like I'm barely keeping it together. That's parenthood, from what I understand. My mother used to say raising kids was just controlled chaos with occasional moments of pure terror. Your mom sounds smart. She was. She died 6 years ago. Cancer. Vivian said it matter-of-factly, the way people did when they'd processed the grief and moved past the sharp edges. She never got to see the company really take off. That bothers me sometimes. I'm sorry. Don't be. She wouldn't want sympathy. Vivian picked up their plates and carried them to the sink. She'd want me to keep building, keep proving everyone wrong. Is that what drives you? Proving people wrong? Partly. She rinsed the plates, and Ethan noticed she didn't wait for him to do it. Just did it herself like it was natural. The other part is knowing what happens if I fail. 1,200 employees lose their jobs. Investors lose millions. The media gets to write another story about a woman who couldn't handle the pressure. That's a lot of weight. It is, but I chose it. She turned off the water and dried her hands on the dish towel. What about you? Construction work? Is that what you always wanted to do? Ethan leaned against the counter. Honestly, I wanted to be an architect. Went to college for 2 years before the money ran out. Got a job on a construction crew to pay the bills, and then Lily came along. And architecture school kind of fell by the wayside. Do you regret it? No. Maybe. I don't know. He ran a hand through his hair. I love my daughter. Wouldn't trade her for anything. But sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd finished school. If I'd actually gotten to design buildings instead of just putting them together. It's not too late. Yeah, it is. I'm 32, working 12-hour days just to keep the lights on. There's no money for school, no time for classes. That ship sailed a long time ago. Wham! Vivian studied him with those sharp green eyes. What if there was money? What if someone covered tuition? I'm not a charity case. I didn't say you were. I'm asking a hypothetical question. Then hypothetically, I'd still say no. I don't take handouts, Vivian, especially not from... He stopped himself. From billionaires? She didn't look offended. That's fair, but what if it wasn't a handout? What if it was an investment? In what? In someone with talent who hasn't had a fair shot. She moved closer. I've built a company from nothing, Ethan. You know what the most valuable thing is? Potential. Raw talent that just needs the right opportunity. I see that in you. You barely know me. I know you're smart. I know you're dedicated. I know you raised an incredible kid on your own while working a job that breaks your body down. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Ethan's chest felt tight. Nobody had talked to him like this in years. Like he was more than just a guy swinging a hammer. Like he had actual potential beyond his next paycheck. I can't, he said quietly. I appreciate it, but I can't. Why not? Because I don't know what you want from me. The words hung in the air between them. Vivian's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. I want to have dinner with someone who doesn't treat me like an ATM or a business opportunity, she said. I want to watch my dog play with a kid who thinks hamster feeding schedules are serious business. I want to stand in a kitchen that actually feels like a home instead of a showroom. She paused. And maybe, if I'm being completely honest, I want to see if there's something real here, between us. Ethan's heart was doing complicated things in his chest. You could have anyone. Someone who fits your world. I don't want someone who fits my world. Everyone in my world is fake, polished, performing all the time. She took another step closer. You're real, Ethan. That's rarer than you think. Before he could respond, Lily's voice called from the bedroom. Dad, Max wants to see your room too. Vivian smiled. Permission to continue the tour? Yeah, sure. They spent the rest of the afternoon just existing together. Lily showed Vivian every corner of the apartment, the closet where she kept her art supplies, the bathroom where the shower sometimes ran cold, the kitchen window that looked out over the parking lot. Vivian asked questions and listened to the answers like they mattered. Around 4 p.m., Vivian's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her expression tightened. I need to take this. Excuse me. She stepped out into the hallway, and through the thin apartment door, Ethan could hear her voice shift into something harder, more commanding. The billionaire CEO voice, all business. I don't care what the board thinks, Richard. The acquisition goes through or I pull my support entirely. No, we're not renegotiating. They had their chance. Because I said so, and last time I checked, my name is on the building. She came back in 2 minutes later, her expression carefully neutral, but Ethan could see the tension in her shoulders. Everything okay? He asked. Just work? Always work. She checked her watch. I should go. I have another call in an hour. On a Saturday? Time zones, she said again, but this time it sounded more like an excuse. They walked her to the door. Lily hugged Max goodbye, and then, to Ethan's surprise, hugged Vivian too. Can you come back next week? Lily asked. Vivian looked at Ethan, a question in her eyes. He nodded. I'd like that, Vivian told Lily. At the door, Vivian paused. Thank you for today. I mean that. Same here. She hesitated, like she wanted to say something else, but her phone rang again. She silenced it without looking. I'll text you. Okay. After she left, Lily turned to Ethan with a serious expression. Are you going to marry her? What? No, we're just friends. Hey, Emma's mom says adults who are just friends usually end up dating. Emma's mom should mind her own business. That's what you said about Mrs. Chen. That's different. How? It just is. Now go wash your hands before you get pizza grease all over your dinosaur book. That night after Lily was asleep, Ethan's phone buzzed. Vivian, your daughter asked me 16 questions about Max's training routine. She's going to be a very thorough investigator someday. Ethan, she's going to be a very thorough something. Sorry if it was too much. Vivian, it wasn't. It was perfect. There was a pause, then another message. Vivian, can I ask you something? Ethan, shoot. Vivian, when you look at me, what do you see? Ethan stared at the question for a long time. It felt like a test, but he didn't know what the right answer was supposed to be. Ethan, I see someone who's really good at pretending she has everything figured out, and someone who's tired of pretending. The response took almost 5 minutes to come back. Vivian, that's the most honest thing anyone said to me in years. Ethan, is that good or bad? Vivian, good, definitely good. Sunday morning, Ethan took Lily to the park like they did every week. She played on the swings while he sat on a bench and tried not to think about Vivian Hale. He failed completely. His phone rang just before noon. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Ryder? A man's voice, professional and clipped. This is James Chen from Hale Technologies Security Division, Ms. Hale asked me to reach out to you. Ethan's stomach dropped. Is something wrong? We're following up on the theft investigation. There's been a development, and Miss Hale thought you might be able to help. Would you be available to meet this afternoon? What kind of development? I'd prefer to discuss it in person. Are you available at 2 p.m.? Ethan looked at Lily, who was now hanging upside down from the monkey bars. I've got my daughter with me. That's fine. We can meet at the Hale Technologies office building downtown. I'll have passes waiting at the front desk. The call ended before Ethan could ask more questions. He texted Vivian immediately. Ethan, your security guy just called me. What's going on? No response. He tried calling her directly, but it went to voicemail. At 1:30, he loaded Lily into the truck and drove downtown. The Hale Technologies building was impossible to miss. 40 stories of glass and steel, Vivian's name in silver letters across the front. The parking garage alone was nicer than most buildings Ethan had worked on. Inside, the lobby looked like something from a science fiction movie. Polished floors, digital displays showing stock prices and news feeds, security guards in suits that probably cost more than Ethan's truck. A receptionist directed them to the elevators. 38th floor. Mr. Chen is expecting you. The elevator moved so smoothly, Ethan barely felt it. Lily pressed her face against the glass wall, watching Portland shrink below them. This is so high, she breathed. Yeah, kiddo, it really is. The 38th floor was all sleek minimalism. White walls, modern furniture, everything looking like it had been designed rather than just purchased. James Chen met them as soon as they stepped off the elevator. Mid-40s, Chinese-American, with the kind of controlled posture that screamed former military. Mr. Ryder, thank you for coming. He shook Ethan's hand firmly. And you must be Lily. Hi, Lily said shyly. There's a lounge down the hall with games and snacks. Would you like to wait there while your dad and I talk? Lily looked at Ethan for permission. He nodded. Lily looked at Ethan and a young woman appeared to escort her away. Chen led Ethan to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A laptop sat open on the table, showing what looked like security footage. I'll get straight to it, Chen said. We've identified a pattern in the thefts. Same crew, same methodology, hitting properties in a specific geographic cluster. All properties owned or being developed by Hale Technologies. Okay, what's that got to do with me? Chen clicked a button on the laptop. The security footage started playing. Black and white, timestamp in the corner showing a construction site at night. A truck pulled into frame and Ethan's stomach turned to ice. It was his truck. His beat-up Ford with the dent in the passenger door, and the missing taillight. That's not possible, Ethan said. That's my truck, but I didn't. We know. The timestamp on this footage is from last Wednesday at 11:40 p.m. According to your work logs, you were home. Your neighbor, Mrs. Chen, confirmed she saw your truck parked in your complex lot that entire evening. Then how? Someone stole your truck, used it in the robbery, and returned it before you woke up. Chen pulled up another screen. This happened at 3 more sites over the past 2 weeks. Same truck, same pattern. They're using your vehicle to move stolen equipment. Ethan sat down heavily. I don't understand. Why would they return it? Because if you reported it stolen, we'd start looking for it. This way, you never knew it was gone, and we had no reason to connect you to the crimes. Chen's expression was hard. Until Ms. Hale's dog alerted to your truck in that parking lot. Max isn't trained to detect food. He's trained to detect chemical signatures from industrial materials. Specifically, the kind of materials being stolen from our construction sites. The convenience store. Max alerting to the sausages. Except he hadn't been alerting to the sausages at all. Someone put that stuff in my truck, Ethan said slowly, when they used it, and Max smelled it. Exactly. The sausage was a coincidence. Max was actually alerting to trace amounts of construction adhesive and electrical compounds in your truck bed. Chen closed the laptop. The question now is, who has access to your truck keys? Nobody. They're always with me or in my apartment. Are you sure? Ethan thought about it. His keys sat on the counter when he was home, in his pocket when he was out, sometimes in his locker at work sites. But those lockers had combination locks, and the work site, he said. We've had new guys rotating through the past month. Temp workers from some staffing agency. I don't even know all their names. Which agency? I don't know. Marcus, my foreman, handles all that. Chen made a note. We'll need to talk to him. In the meantime, Ms. Hale wanted me to tell you that we don't consider you a suspect, but we do need your cooperation. Whatever you need. First, we're installing a GPS tracker on your truck. Passive, undetectable. If someone takes it again, we'll know where it goes. Done. Second, you keep this conversation completely confidential. Tell no one at your work site. The people doing this are clearly embedded in the construction community. If they know we're on to them, they'll disappear. Ethan nodded. What about Vivian? Is she okay? For the first time, Chen's expression softened slightly. Ms. Hale is fine. She's in a board meeting right now, but she specifically asked me to handle this personally. She's concerned about you. Something warm spread through Ethan's chest despite the situation. They talked for another 20 minutes, Chen asking detailed questions about work sites, schedules, who had access to what. Finally, he stood. We'll be in touch. In the meantime, act normal. Go to work, come home, don't change any patterns. And if someone takes my truck again, let them. We'll be watching. Lily was playing a racing game when Ethan found her in the lounge. She'd made friends with 2 other kids, apparently the children of Hale Technologies employees, and was beating them soundly. Ready to go, kiddo? Can we come back? They have good snacks here. We'll see. On the drive home, Lily asked questions about the building, the games, whether Vivian lived there. Ethan answered on autopilot, his mind spinning. Someone was using his truck to commit crimes. Someone who knew his schedule, had access to his keys, and was smart enough to return the truck before he noticed it missing. His phone buzzed at a red light. Vivian. James told me about the meeting. I'm so sorry. Ethan. Not your fault. Vivian. Still, this must be scary. Ethan. I've dealt with worse. At least now we know what's happening. Vivian. Can I see you tonight? After Lily's asleep? Ethan hesitated. Late night, just the 2 of them. It felt dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with stolen trucks. Ethan. Yeah, come by around 9. She arrived at 9:15 wearing jeans and a black sweater, her hair damp like she'd just showered. Max wasn't with her. Left him at home, she explained. Thought we could use the privacy. They sat on the couch, the same couch Ethan had tried to make look presentable yesterday, and for a moment neither of them spoke. Chen thinks it's someone from your work site, Vivian said finally. Someone who knows your routine. Yeah, I've been thinking about that all day. Going through everyone in my head trying to figure out who it could be. And? and I have no idea. I work with the same guys every day, known most of them for years. I can't imagine any of them doing this. What about the temp workers Chen mentioned? Maybe, but they rotate through so fast I barely learn their names before they're gone. Ethan rubbed his face. I just feel stupid. Someone's been stealing my truck for weeks and I didn't even notice. How could you notice? They were returning it. That's smart criminal behavior, not stupidity on your part. She shifted closer. Are you scared? Honestly, a little. Whoever's doing this knows where I live, knows about Lily. If they're willing to frame me for theft, what else are they willing to do? Vivian's jaw tightened. I'm having Chen assign a security detail to your building. Discreet, but present. You don't need to do that. I absolutely do. This is happening because they're targeting my properties. That makes it my responsibility. Her voice had gone hard. Nobody threatens you or your daughter. I don't care who they are. So the protectiveness in her voice made something crack open in Ethan's chest. He reached out and took her hand without thinking about it. She looked down at their joined hands, then back up at his face. Ethan, I need to tell you something, he said, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay, what are we doing here? Because from where I'm sitting, this feels like more than just two people grabbing dinner. But I'm not stupid. I know how this looks from the outside. Rich CEO, struggling single dad. It's a bad movie plot. It's not a plot to me. Then what is it? Vivian was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than he'd ever heard it. I don't know. I'm 30 years old, I run a company worth $2 billion, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing when it comes to this. She gestured between them. Every relationship I've ever had has been transactional. Business arrangements dressed up as romance. People who wanted access or money or connections. I can spot manipulation from a mile away. It's a survival skill in my world. But you... She stopped, choosing her words carefully. You don't want anything from me. You argued when I offered to help with school. You got uncomfortable when I bought pizza. You treat me like I'm just another person, and I don't know what to do with that. So what do you want to do with it? I want to keep seeing where it goes, even if it's messy, even if it doesn't make sense. She squeezed his hand. Is that okay? Yeah, Ethan said. That's okay. She leaned in and kissed him. It was soft and tentative, and Ethan's brain went completely offline for a few seconds. When she pulled back, her cheeks were flushed. I should go, she said, before I do something else impulsive. Probably smart, At the door, she turned back. The security detail starts tomorrow. You won't see them, but they'll be there. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call me immediately. Not Chen, not the police. Me. Okay? After she left, Ethan touched his lips and wondered what the hell he was getting himself into. His phone buzzed almost immediately. Vivian. That was my first kiss in 2 years. Ethan. How'd I do? Vivian. I'll need more data to make a proper assessment. Ethan. I'm available for further testing. Vivian. Noted. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Ethan dropped Lily at school and drove to the worksite, hyper-aware of every person he saw. Marcus was already there, yelling at someone about a lumber delivery. Ryder, where the hell have you been? It's 7 a.m. I'm on time. Yeah, well, on time is late in my world. We've got inspectors coming at noon and half this floor isn't ready. Marcus tossed him a nail gun. Get to work. I'll do it. The day passed in the usual rhythm of noise and dust and repetitive motion, but Ethan watched everyone more carefully now. Derek, the kid who'd stolen his sandwich last week. Carlos, who'd been with the crew for 3 years. Mike, the new guy who barely talked to anyone. Were any of them capable of stealing his truck, of framing him? At lunch, he sat alone and called Chen. Any updates? We're running background checks on everyone at your site. Should have preliminary results by tomorrow. Chen paused. How are you holding up? I'm fine, just want this over with. Understandable. Stay alert, but don't do anything that might tip them off. That night, Vivian texted him at 8. Vivian, dinner tomorrow? Real restaurant this time, not my attempt at casual. Ethan, can't. Lily has a school thing, parent-teacher conferences. Vivian, Wednesday then? Ethan. Wednesday works. Vivian. It's a date. Ethan. Literally or figuratively? Vivian. Both. Tuesday brought rain and a tension headache that wouldn't quit. The background checks came back clean. Everyone at the site had normal employment histories, no criminal records worth noting. Chen called at 3 p.m. We're expanding the investigation. Looking at the staffing agency, cross-referencing schedules with theft dates. How long is this going to take? As long as it takes. I know that's not what you want to hear, but we need to be thorough. Wednesday night, Ethan met Vivian at a steakhouse near the waterfront. She was already seated when he arrived, and she smiled when she saw him. You made it. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was brutal. You're 3 minutes late. That's practically early by my standards. She poured him water from the carafe on the table. How was your day? Long. Yours? Itzi. Also long. Spent 4 hours in a meeting about quarterly projections, then another 2 hours explaining to our marketing team why we can't just use AI to solve every problem. She smiled tiredly. Being a tech CEO apparently means everyone thinks you have magic solutions to everything. They ordered steak for both of them, wine for her, beer for him, and fell into an easy conversation about nothing important. Work stories, Lily's latest school drama, a documentary Vivian had watched about deep-sea creatures. I never took you for a nature documentary person, Ethan said. I'm full of surprises. Clearly. After dinner, they walked along the waterfront. The rain had stopped, leaving everything wet and reflective in the streetlights. Vivian slipped her hand into his, and they walked in comfortable silence. Can I ask you something? Vivian said eventually. Always. Do you ever wish things were different? That you had more money, more security? All the time. But wishing doesn't change anything. He glanced at her. Why? Because I have all those things, and I'd trade them in a heartbeat for what you have with Lily. That kind of unconditional love, that simplicity. She stopped walking. Does that sound crazy? No, it sounds honest. I'm not good at honest. I'm good at strategic, at calculated, at saying what people need to hear to get what I want. She turned to face him fully. But with you, I don't know what I want, and that terrifies me. So, Ethan kissed her. Right there on the waterfront, with joggers passing by and the city lights reflecting off the water. She kissed him back, her hands coming up to his chest, and for a few seconds the rest of the world disappeared entirely. When they broke apart, she was breathing hard. That was, yeah, Ethan agreed. His phone rang. He almost ignored it, but the caller ID said Marcus. His foreman never called this late unless something was wrong. I need to take this. Of course. He answered, Marcus? Ryder, we got a problem. Someone broke into the site tonight, cleared out the tool shed, about 30,000 in equipment gone. Ethan's blood went cold. When? About 30,000 in. Security company called me 20 minutes ago. Police are there now, but it's bad. Real bad. Boss is going to lose his mind. Marcus paused. You better get down here. They're asking questions about everyone on the crew. I'll be there in 15 minutes. He ended the call and looked at Vivian. Her expression had already shifted into something harder. What happened? Another theft. My work site this time. He ran a hand through his hair. I need to go. I'm coming with you. Vivian. That's my property, my equipment. I'm coming. They took her car, the black SUV with the driver, and made it to the site in 12 minutes. Police cars filled the parking lot, their lights painting everything in red and blue. Marcus met them at the gate. Ryder, what's she doing here? He looked at Vivian. Ms. Hale owns the property, Ethan said. What happened? Someone cut the fence in the back, went straight for the tool shed, took power tools, generators, 2 industrial air compressors, knew exactly what they were going for. Marcus's expression was grim. And Ryder? They found your truck parked 2 blocks away. Engine still warm. The world tilted sideways. That's impossible. My truck's at home. Go look for yourself. Ethan ran to where he'd parked, 2 blocks from the site, like Marcus said. The spot was empty. His truck was gone. Again. Vivian had followed him, her phone already to her ear. Chen, they took his truck again. The site on Morrison Street. I don't care. Get here now. Yes, the GPS tracker is active. Why didn't it alert? Well, figure it out. She ended the call and turned to Ethan. We're going to find them. I promise you that. How? They've been doing this for weeks and nobody's caught them yet. Because now they've made a mistake. They hit a site while you were with me. That's an alibi, Ethan. Proof that you weren't involved. Her eyes were fierce, and they took your truck while the GPS was active. Wherever they are, we're about to find them. Police officers were questioning Marcus and the other crew members. Ethan saw Derek talking to a cop, looking nervous. Mike was sitting in a police car. Carlos was smoking a cigarette and looking pissed. Mr. Ryder, a detective approached. Older guy, gray hair, tired eyes. I need to ask you some questions. He was with me, Vivian said immediately. All evening. We had dinner at Morrison's Steakhouse, then walked the waterfront. I can provide credit card receipts, security footage from the restaurant. And you are? Vivian Hale. I own this property. The detective's expression shifted immediately. Ms. Hale, I didn't realize you were personally involved in this investigation. I am now. Her voice had gone full CEO, cold, commanding, brooking no argument. And I'm telling you that Ethan Ryder had nothing to do with this. His truck was stolen and used without his knowledge or consent. Chen arrived 15 minutes later with 2 other security personnel and a laptop. They set up in one of the construction trailers, pulling up GPS data. The tracker shows the truck heading east on Highway 26, Chen reported. They're moving fast, currently near Gresham. That's outside city limits, the detective said. We'll need to coordinate with county police. I don't care who you coordinate with. Find my equipment and find whoever's doing this. Wait. Vivian's hands were clenched into fists. And find his truck. The next hour was chaos. Police coordinating with county, Chen tracking the GPS signal, Ethan giving his statement to 3 different officers. Vivian stayed at his side the entire time, her presence like a shield. Finally, at midnight, Chen got a call. He listened for a moment, then looked up. They found the truck, abandoned in a parking lot near an apartment complex in Gresham. Units are moving in now. I want to be there, Vivian said immediately. Ms. Hale, I don't care what you think. That's my property, and I want to see who's been stealing from me. Well, the detective looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Vivian's expression made him reconsider. Fine, but you stay in the vehicle and you don't interfere. They took Vivian's SUV, following a police convoy east. Ethan sat in the back seat, his mind spinning. Someone had his truck. Someone knew his schedule well enough to know he wouldn't notice it missing. Someone was setting him up. The apartment complex was exactly what Ethan expected. Rundown buildings, cars on blocks in the parking lot, broken playground equipment. Police cars blocked both entrances, their lights illuminating everything in harsh white and blue. There, Chen pointed. Ethan's truck sat in the far corner of the lot, the bed full of equipment. Police officers surrounded it, photographing everything. Stay here, the detective ordered, then got out. Vivian's hand found Ethan's in the darkness. She didn't say anything, just held on tight. They watched as officers searched the truck, pulling out tools and generators and air compressors. Everything was still there. Whoever had taken it hadn't had time to unload yet. Then one of the officers called out, "We've got something." What? A figure ran from one of the apartment buildings. Young, maybe 18 or 19, wearing a hoodie. He made it about 20 feet before 2 officers tackled him to the ground. The kid fought for a moment, then went still. That's him, Chen said quietly. That's got to be one of them. The officers pulled the kid to his feet, and in the harsh police lights, Ethan got his first good look. The kid looked terrified, just a teenager really, with fear written all over his face. Not a hardened criminal, not some sophisticated theft ring, just a scared kid, and something about that made everything infinitely worse. The kid's name was Leo Martinez, and he wouldn't stop shaking. They had him in the back of a police cruiser now, hands cuffed behind his back, his face pressed against the window. He looked even younger up close, maybe 17 with acne scars on his cheeks and a fear in his eyes that made Ethan's stomach twist. This wasn't some career criminal. This was a kid who'd gotten in way over his head. He's not talking, the detective said, walking back to Vivian's SUV. Won't say a word without a lawyer, but we found his prints all over your truck, Mr. Ryder. And he matches the description from security footage at 2 other sites. He's just a kid, Ethan said. A kid who's been stealing thousands of dollars in equipment. The detective's expression was hard. Age doesn't excuse crime. Vivian leaned forward. Is he working alone? We don't know yet. We're searching the building he ran from, apartment 2C. If there's anyone else involved, we'll find them. The detective paused. You should go home, both of you. We'll be processing this scene for hours, and there's nothing more you can do here. I want updates, Vivian said. Every step of the way. You'll get them. Chen drove them back to Portland in silence. Ethan stared out the window, watching the dark highway roll past. His truck was evidence now, impounded by the police. He'd have to find another way to get to work tomorrow, another problem to solve, another bill he couldn't afford. You're quiet, Vivian said softly. Just thinking. About? That kid, Leo. He looked terrified. He should be. He committed multiple felonies, boppies. I know. But there's a difference between understanding why something's wrong and actually being a hardened criminal. That kid looked like he was about to throw up. Ethan rubbed his face. I keep thinking about what could drive someone that young to do something this stupid. Vivian was quiet for a moment. You're more compassionate than I am. That's not compassion. That's just recognizing desperation when I see it. I've been desperate, Vivian. Maybe not desperate enough to steal, but desperate enough to understand how someone gets there. They dropped Ethan at his apartment at 1:30 a.m. Mrs. Chen had agreed to stay overnight with Lily. He'd called her from the work site, and she'd shown up in her bathrobe without asking questions. The light was still on in his living room when he walked in. Everything okay? Mrs. Chen asked, setting down her knitting. Yeah, just work stuff. Thanks for staying. That child is sleeping like the dead. Didn't even wake up when I came in. She gathered her things. You look exhausted, Ethan. Get some rest. After she left, Ethan checked on Lily, still asleep, one arm wrapped around her stuffed dinosaur, then collapsed on the couch. His phone buzzed. Vivian. Are you okay? Ethan. Tired. Confused. Glad they caught someone, but weird about the whole thing. Vivian. I know what you mean. That wasn't what I expected. Ethan. What did you expect? Vivian. Someone older, more professional. Not a teenager who looked like he was going to cry. Ethan. Yeah. There was a long pause, then another message. Vivian. Thank you for tonight, for being there. I know this is your life that got disrupted, but having you there made it easier somehow. But ye? Ethan. Same here. Get some sleep. Vivian. You too. Morning came too quickly. Ethan woke up on the couch at 6 a.m. with a crick in his neck and his phone ringing. Marcus. Ryder, where are you? We've got a concrete pour starting in an hour, and I need all hands. My truck's still impounded. I'm trying to figure out transportation. Take a ride share. I'll reimburse you. Just get here. The ride share cost $40, which Ethan definitely didn't have to spare, but he made it to the site by 7. The crew was already buzzing with gossip about last night. Derek cornered him immediately. Dude, is it true? Someone was using your truck to rob sites? Yeah. That's insane. Who was it? Some kid. Police are still investigating. Man, that's messed up. You must be freaking out. I'm fine. Let's just get to work. But work felt impossible. Every time Ethan picked up a tool, he thought about Leo Martinez. Every time someone mentioned the theft, he wondered what the full story was. Had the kid been working alone? Had someone put him up to it? Why Ethan's truck specifically? At lunch, Chen called. We finished searching the apartment. It belongs to Leo Martinez and his mother, Carmen. She's got stage 3 cancer, hasn't worked in 8 months. They're 3 months behind on rent and about to be evicted. Ethan sat down on a stack of lumber. So he was stealing to pay bills. Looks that way. We found medical bills in the apartment totaling over $60,000. Insurance won't cover most of it. Experimental treatments, out-of-network specialists. The kid was drowning. Is he still not talking? He lawyered up, public defender. But here's the interesting part. We found a burner phone in the apartment with texts from an unknown number. Instructions on which sites to hit, what equipment to take, where to deliver it. Someone was telling him what to do. Ethan's blood went cold. So he's not the mastermind. No. He's the fall guy. Someone recruited a desperate kid and used him to do the dirty work. Chen paused. We're tracing the number now, but it's going to take time. Whoever's running this operation knows how to cover their tracks. Does Vivian know? I'm calling her next. I wanted to give you the update first since it's your truck that got stolen. Beat. After the call ended, Ethan sat there for a long time. A kid with a sick mother, drowning in medical debt, getting manipulated by someone who knew exactly how to exploit that desperation. It was the kind of thing that made his chest hurt. His phone buzzed. Vivian. Vivian. Chen just called me. This is worse than I thought. Ethan. Yeah. Vivian. I want to help them. The mother and son. Medical bills. Rent. Legal fees. Whatever they need. Us? Ethan. You sure that's a good idea? He did steal from you. Vivian. He stole because someone manipulated him when he was vulnerable. That's different than just being a criminal. Ethan. Your board is going to hate this. Vivian. My board can deal with it. I'm doing this. Us. That night, Ethan borrowed Marcus's truck to pick up Lily from school. She chattered the whole way home about a science project involving volcanoes, and Ethan tried to focus on her words instead of the mess spinning in his head. Dad, you're not listening, Lily said. Sorry, kiddo. What'd you say? I said Emma's volcano exploded all over Mrs. Palmer's desk, and now she's not allowed to bring baking soda to school anymore. That sounds like Emma. But can we see Vivian this weekend? I miss Max. I'll ask her. You like her, right? Like her? Ethan glanced in the rearview mirror. Where's this coming from? Mrs. Chen says you smile different when you talk about her, like how Mr. Chen smiled about Mrs. Chen before they got married. Mrs. Chen needs to mind her business. That's what you always say. But you didn't answer my question. Yeah, kiddo, I like her. Good. She's nice. And Max is the best dog ever. Yay. Friday morning brought news. Chen called at 8 a.m., his voice tight with excitement. We traced the burner phone. Text came from a number registered to a Derek Voss. Does that name mean anything to you? Ethan's mind went blank. Derek? Like Derek from my crew? Different Derek. Derek Voss has a criminal record. Theft, receiving stolen property, fraud. Been in and out of prison for the past decade. He's currently on parole. How does he connect to Leo? We're still figuring that out, but we've got surveillance on him now. If he makes contact with anyone involved in the thefts, we'll know. What about Leo? Is he still in custody? He made bail yesterday. His lawyer argued that he's not a flight risk. Mother's sick, no prior record, strong community ties. Judge agreed. Chen paused. Vivian paid his bail. She what? She posted $50,000 to get him out. Then she paid 3 months of their back rent and covered his mother's medical bills for the next 6 months. The kid nearly passed out when his lawyer told him. Ethan didn't know what to say. That was so completely, impossibly Vivian, ruthless in business, but unable to watch someone suffer when she could do something about it. Is she there? Can I talk to her? She's in meetings all morning, but she asked me to tell you she wants to see you tonight. She's sending a car at 7. The car that arrived at 7 p.m. was even nicer than the usual SUV, a sleek black sedan with leather seats and a driver in an actual suit. Lily pressed her face against the window as it pulled away from the apartment complex. This is so fancy, she breathed. You're going to Mrs. Chen's for a sleepover tonight, remember? Oh. I know, but can I just ride in the fancy car a little bit first? The driver smiled in the rear-view mirror. The young lady is welcome to enjoy the ride. They dropped Lily at Mrs. Chen's, who took one look at the car and raised her eyebrows at Ethan, but didn't say anything, and then drove downtown. But instead of going to a restaurant, they pulled up to the L Technologies building. Ms. Hale is expecting you on the 40th floor, the driver said. The elevator ride felt longer this time. The 40th floor was executive territory, all glass walls and expensive art, and an assistant who looked like she belonged in a fashion magazine. "Mr. Ryder, Ms. Hale is in her office. Go right in." Vivian's office was corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. Portland spread out below like a map made of lights. Vivian stood at the window, still in her work clothes, a black suit that probably cost more than Ethan made in a month. "Hi," she said, turning. "Thanks for coming." Your assistant made it sound non-negotiable. It wasn't. "I needed to see you." She moved away from the window. "Chen told you about Leo?" "He told me what you did. Paying his bail, the rent, the medical bills. That's a lot of money, Vivian. It's nothing to me, you know that. It's not about the money. It's about you getting emotionally involved in an active investigation. Your board is going to lose their minds. The board can be concerned with profits. I'm concerned with people." She sat down on the leather couch against the wall. "The kid is 17 years old, Ethan. His mother is dying. Someone exploited that, used him, and now he's facing felony charges that could destroy the rest of his life. I'm not going to stand by and watch that happen when I can do something about it." Ethan sat beside her. "You've got a good heart. That's going to get you in trouble someday." "It already has. Multiple times." She leaned against him, and he could feel the exhaustion in her body. "I spent 4 hours in a board meeting today. They're furious about the bail. Furious that I'm personally involved in the investigation. Furious that I've been seeing you. Apparently I'm compromising the integrity of the company by having a personal life." "What'd you tell them?" "I told them to focus on their quarterly reports and let me handle my own relationships." "How'd that go?" "Bet. About as well as you'd expect. 3 board members threatened to resign. 2 more called for a vote of no confidence." She closed her eyes. "It's exhausting, Ethan. Fighting constantly just to maintain control of the company I built." "Why do it? Why keep fighting?" "Because it's mine. Because walking away means they win. Because—" She stopped, then continued more quietly. "Because until recently, it was all I had. The company was my entire identity. Without it, I didn't know who I was." "Yes. And now?" "Now I'm starting to realize there might be more to life than board meetings and profit margins." She opened her eyes and looked at him. "You're changing me. This thing between us, it's making me question everything I thought I wanted. Is that good or bad? I don't know yet." Oh. They sat in silence for a while. Through the windows, Portland glittered in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Leo Martinez was probably sitting with his sick mother, trying to figure out how his life had gotten so complicated. Somewhere out there, Derek Voss was making plans that would probably hurt more people. And somewhere in between, Ethan and Vivian were trying to figure out if 2 people from completely different worlds could actually make something real work. "I need to tell you something," Vivian said finally. "The board gave me an ultimatum today. Either I step back from this investigation and stop seeing you, or they're going to force a vote to remove me as CEO." Ethan's stomach dropped. "They can do that?" "Technically, yes. If they get enough votes, they can replace me with someone more stable. Someone who won't make emotional decisions or get involved with construction workers." She said it without bitterness, just stating facts. "What are you going to do?" "I told them to schedule the vote. I'm not stepping back from anything." "Vivian, this is my company, Ethan. I built it from nothing. And I'm not going to let a group of men in expensive suits tell me how to live my life, or who I'm allowed to care about." She turned to face him fully. "But I need you to understand what that means. If I fight this, if I refuse to back down, it's going to get messy. The media will get involved. Your name will be in the papers. People will dig into your life, your past, everything. I don't care about that. Uters ish imeseten. You should. This kind of attention can be brutal. They'll paint you as a gold digger, someone using me for money. They'll question your motives, your character, everything. Let them. I know who I am. I know why I'm here." He took her hand. "I'm here because you're brilliant and complicated and you make me laugh. I'm here because my daughter lights up when she sees you. I'm here because when I'm with you, I feel like maybe there's more to my life than just surviving until the next paycheck." He squeezed her hand. "I'm not going anywhere, Vivian. Not because of some board members or media stories or any of it. She kissed him, hard and desperate, like she was trying to prove something to herself. When they broke apart, her eyes were bright. I don't deserve you. Yeah, you do. You just don't believe it yet. They ordered dinner, Chinese takeout delivered to her office by an assistant who pretended not to notice them sitting very close together on the couch, and ate while watching the city lights. Vivian told him stories about building the company, about the early days when it was just her and two programmers in a garage, about the first time she'd signed a $1 million contract and realized she'd actually made something real. I was 23, she said, barely out of college. I walked out of that meeting and threw up in the parking lot because I was so terrified I'd fail. But you didn't. No. I worked 90-hour weeks for 3 years straight. Didn't sleep, didn't date, didn't have a life outside the company. By the time I was 26, we'd gone public and I was worth $50 million on paper. By 28, it was $500 million. She picked at her fried rice. And I was completely alone. No friends, no family left. No one who knew me as anything other than the CEO. That sounds lonely. It was. It is. Most days I wake up in a penthouse that could fit 6 families, and I eat breakfast by myself while reading market reports. I go to bed the same way. In between, I make decisions that affect thousands of people's lives, and nobody asks me how I'm doing or if I need anything. She looked at him. Until you. I'm just a guy who buys cheap sausages and has a nosy daughter. Spets. You're more than that. You see me, Ethan. Not the money or the company or the image. Just me. Messy, complicated, exhausted me. And you're still here. Where else would I be? His phone rang at 9:30. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello? Mr. Ryder? A young voice, shaky. This is Leo Martinez, the lawyer, Ms. Hale Hired gave me your number. I hope that's okay. Ethan sat up straight. Leo, yeah, it's fine. Are you okay? Wo darskim. I don't know. I just wanted to say thank you for not pressing charges personally, for talking to Ms. Hale about my mom. I know I screwed up really bad, and I know saying sorry doesn't fix what I did, but I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt anyone. I know, kid. How's your mom doing? Better. The doctors Ms. Hale's people found are actually helping. They started a new treatment yesterday, and Mom's got more energy today than she's had in months. His voice cracked. I didn't know what to do. The bills kept coming, and Mom kept getting sicker, and then this guy approached me at my job and said he could help. He made it sound so easy. Just borrow a truck, move some stuff. Make enough money to keep us from getting evicted. I didn't think about who I was hurting or what could happen. I just thought about Mom not dying. Ethan's chest ached. Who was the guy, Leo? The one who approached you? I don't know his real name. He just said to call him D. We only talked on that burner phone. He'd text me addresses, tell me what to take, where to leave it. I never actually met him face to face except that first time. Can you describe him? White guy, maybe 40, tall, kind of heavy, had a scar on his left hand, like from a burn or something. He talked fast, always checking over his shoulder like he thought someone was watching. Ethan looked at Vivian, who was listening intently. She pulled out her phone and texted something quickly. Leo, I need you to tell all this to the police. Everything about D. Everything you remember. It could help them find whoever's really behind this. My lawyer says if I cooperate, they might reduce the charges. Maybe even get me into some kind of diversion program instead of prison. Leo's voice was small. I really don't want to go to prison. Mr. Ryder, I just wanted to help my mom. I know, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure you get a fair shot. But you have to be completely honest with the police. No more protecting Dee or whoever else is involved. Okay, I will. I promise. There was a pause. Can you tell Ms. Hale thank you again for everything? I don't know why she's helping us, but it means everything. I'll tell her. After the call ended, Ethan looked at Vivian. You heard all that? Most of it. I texted Chen the description. He's going to see if it matches Derek Voss or anyone else in the system. She stood and walked back to the window. That kid sounds terrified. He should be. Even with your help, he's looking at serious charges. Not if I have anything to say about it. I'm going to make sure he gets the best legal defense possible. And if the prosecutor wants to push for prison time, they're going to have to go through me first. You can't fight every battle, Vivian. Watch me. Chen called back 20 minutes later. Vivian put him on speaker. The description doesn't match Derek Voss exactly, but it's close enough to be interesting. Voss has a burn scar on his left hand from a meth lab accident 10 years ago, and he's been known to recruit vulnerable people for theft operations. This fits his MO perfectly. So what's the next step? Vivian asked. We keep watching him. We're monitoring his communications, tracking his movements. If he makes contact with Leo or anyone else involved, we'll know. In the meantime, I need Leo to come in and make a formal statement. The more information we have, the better chance we have of building a case. I'll make sure his lawyer coordinates with you, Vivian said. What about the equipment that was stolen? Any chance of recovering it? Some of it, maybe, but most of it's probably been sold already. These operations move fast. They steal, they sell, they disappear. By the time we trace the equipment, it's been through 3 or 4 different hands. But after Chen hung up, Ethan checked the time. Nearly 11. I should go. Mrs. Chen's probably asleep by now, and I don't want to wake her up too late getting Lily. Stay, Vivian said, just for a little while longer. Well, they moved back to the couch, and Vivian curled against his side. Through the windows, the city continued its endless movement. Cars on the highways, lights in buildings, life happening in 1,000 different directions. Do you ever wonder what your life would be like if things had gone differently? Vivian asked. If you'd finished architecture school, if Lily's mom had stayed, if you'd made different choices. Sometimes, but wondering doesn't change anything. This is the life I have. I can either spend my time wishing it was different, or I can figure out how to make it work. That's very practical. That's survival. When you're barely keeping your head above water, you don't have the luxury of philosophizing about alternate timelines. She was quiet for a moment. I think about it all the time. What if I'd taken that first acquisition offer instead of staying independent? What if I'd prioritized relationships over work? What if I'd said no to the board when they pushed me to expand too fast? She sighed. So many decisions that seemed right at the time but left me here, alone. You're not alone, Igikan. I know. I have you now. But for how long? What happens when you realize that being with me means living under a microscope? When reporters show up at Lily's school asking questions? When your coworkers start treating you differently because you're dating someone famous? Then we deal with it together. You make it sound simple. It is simple. Not easy, but simple. I care about you. You care about me. Everything else is just noise. She tilted her head up and kissed him again, slower this time. When she pulled back, she was smiling. You're dangerous, Ethan Ryder. You make me believe things might actually work out. Maybe they will. The car took him home at midnight. Mrs. Chen was indeed asleep on his couch, and she barely stirred when he came in. He carried Lily to her bed without waking her, then shook Mrs. Chen gently. I'm back. Thanks for staying. Anytime. She'd gathered her things sleepily. That girl asked about Vivian again, wanted to know if Max could come to her birthday party next month. Her birthday's not for 2 months. Try telling her that. She's already planning the guest list. Mrs. Chen paused at the door. She's a good woman, that Vivian. Doesn't matter how much money she has. What matters is she shows up for the people she cares about. Don't let that one go, Ethan. I won't. Saturday morning, the news broke. Ethan woke up to 17 missed calls and a news alert on his phone. Hale Technologies CEO faces board revolt over personal relationship with local contractor. The article was brutal. It included Ethan's name, his workplace, even a photo someone had taken of them walking along the waterfront. The comments section was even worse. People calling Vivian naive, calling Ethan a gold digger, speculating about his motives and her judgment. His phone rang. Vivian, have you seen it? She asked without preamble. Yeah, just now. I'm sorry. I should have warned you this would happen. It's fine. It's not fine. They're being cruel and invasive, and it's my fault for not being more careful about where we went in public. Vivian, stop. I knew what I was getting into. I'm not going to fall apart because some strangers on the internet have opinions about my life. The board is using this. They're calling an emergency meeting Monday morning. They're going to try to force me out. Ethan sat up, suddenly wide awake. Can they do that? If they get enough votes, yes. I hold 30% of the company's voting shares. If they can get 45% to vote against me, I'm done. What do you need me to do? Nothing. This is my fight. I just wanted you to know what was happening. I'm not doing nothing. Tell me how to help. She was quiet for a moment. Just be there. Monday morning, 9 a.m. The meeting's at headquarters. I need to know you're in the building, even if you're not in the room. I'll be there. Sunday passed in a blur of anxiety. Ethan tried to focus on Lily. They went to the park, baked cookies, watched a movie, but his mind kept spinning back to Monday. What would happen if Vivian lost her company? What would that do to her? Would she blame him for the distraction that cost her everything? That night, after Lily was asleep, he texted Vivian. Ethan, you okay? Vivian, no, but I will be. Ethan, I believe in you. Vivian, I wish I believed in myself right now. Ethan, then borrow mine until yours comes back. Vivian, thank you for everything. Monday morning, Ethan wore his only suit, the same one from his cousin's wedding, slightly tight in the shoulders. He dropped Lily at school and took a rideshare to Hale Technologies. The lobby was packed with reporters, cameras, people with microphones shouting questions. Security escorted him upstairs to the 40th floor. The executive suite was chaos, assistants rushing around, people on phones, tension thick enough to cut. Chen found him immediately. She's in the boardroom. Meeting started 10 minutes ago. It's not going well. Can I see her? Not until it's over, but she knows you're here. I told her. Ethan sat in a waiting area with glass walls that looked out over the city. Through the windows, he could see Portland waking up, people going to work, living their lives, completely unaware that floors above them, someone was fighting for everything she'd built. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, the boardroom doors opened and people filed out. Older men in expensive suits, a few women in business wear, all of them looking grim. None of them made eye contact with Ethan. Then Vivian appeared. She looked exhausted, her eyes red, her suit jacket wrinkled. When she saw Ethan, something cracked in her expression. He stood. What happened? They voted 22-18. She took a shaky breath. I'm out. Effective immediately. The words hit like a physical blow. Vivian, I need to clean out my office. Security is giving me 2 hours. She walked past him toward her office, and he followed. Inside, she stood at the window one last time, looking out at the city she'd conquered. Her city. Her empire. And now it was gone. I'm sorry, Ethan said, because he didn't know what else to say. Don't be. I made my choice. I chose you over them, and I'd do it again. She turned to face him. But I need you to understand something. This is going to get harder before it gets easier. The media will be worse. The scrutiny will be worse. People are going to say terrible things about both of us. I can handle it. Can you? Because I just lost a $2 billion company because I refused to stop seeing you. That's going to be part of our story forever. Can you live with that? Ethan crossed the office and took her hands. You didn't lose your company because of me. You lost it because a group of small-minded people couldn't handle you being both powerful and human. That's on them, not you, not us. The board is already installing a replacement, Richard Thornton. He'll dismantle everything I built within 6 months. Then maybe it's time to build something new, something they can't take away from you. She looked at him for a long moment, and slowly, something shifted in her expression. The devastation faded, replaced by something harder, more determined. You're right, she said quietly. I've been so focused on holding on to what I had, I forgot I'm good at building from nothing. I did it once, I can do it again. Exactly, She started packing her personal items, photos, awards, a plant that had somehow survived on her desk for 6 years. Ethan helped, boxing up books and files while security guards watched from the doorway. When they finished, Vivian took one last look around the office that had been hers for 8 years. Then she walked out without looking back. In the elevator, descending from the 40th floor for the last time, she squeezed Ethan's hand. "Thank you for being here." "Where else would I be? Most people would have run. This is messy and complicated and probably going to get worse. Good thing I'm not most people." The elevator doors opened, and they walked out into the chaos of reporters and cameras. Questions shouted from every direction, microphones shoved toward their faces. But Vivian didn't stop, didn't answer, just walked straight through with her head high and Ethan at her side. Outside, Max was waiting in the black SUV, and they climbed in. As the car pulled away from the building, Vivian finally let herself cry. Quiet tears that she wiped away quickly, but Ethan saw them. "It's okay to be upset," he said. "I know, I just hate feeling weak." "Crying isn't weak, it's human." She leaned against him, and he wrapped his arm around her shoulders. Through the window, Portland kept moving, kept living, completely indifferent to the personal earthquake that had just reshaped Vivian's entire existence. But in the car, in that moment, she wasn't alone. And maybe, Ethan thought, that was worth more than any boardroom or any company or any amount of money. Maybe it was worth everything. The media storm hit harder than Ethan expected. By Tuesday morning, his face was on 3 different news websites, accompanied by headlines that made his stomach turn. Billionaire CEO's downfall, the construction worker who cost her everything. From boardroom to betrayal, inside Vivian Hale's shocking romance. Gold digger or true love? The man behind Hale's career suicide. Oh, Chupab. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters camped outside his apartment building. One actually followed him to the work site, shouting questions until Marcus physically blocked the guy's path and threatened to call the cops. "You need to take some time off," Marcus said after the reporter finally left. "This is getting out of hand. I can't afford time off. You know that." "Ryder, I'm serious. These people are going to make your life hell. Go somewhere quiet for a few days. Let this blow over." "It's not going to blow over, and hiding won't make it better." Ethan picked up his nail gun. "I'm fine. Let's just work." But he wasn't fine. Every time his phone buzzed, he tensed. Every time he saw someone watching him, he wondered if it was another reporter. The other guys on the crew tried to act normal, but he could feel their curiosity, their judgment, their questions they were too polite to ask out loud. At lunch, Derek approached him. The younger guy looked uncomfortable. "Hey man, I just wanted to say, I think it's cool. You and Ms. Hale. Don't listen to what people are saying online. They're just jealous." "Thanks, Derek. Is it true she lost her company because of you guys dating? It's more complicated than that. Still, that's pretty intense. She must really care about you to give all that up." Ethan hadn't let himself think about it in those terms. The weight of what Vivian had sacrificed was too heavy to carry while he was trying to just get through the day. He texted her during his break. "Ethan, how are you holding up?" "Vivian, drowning in legal paperwork. Apparently leaving a company you founded involves signing approximately 7,000 documents." "Ethan, need a distraction?" "Vivian, desperately." "What?" "Ethan, Lily has a school concert Thursday night. She's playing the recorder. Badly. Want to come suffer through it with me?" There was a long pause before her response came. "Vivian, won't that make things worse for you? More photos, more headlines?" "Ethan, probably, but Lily asked if you'd be there. She's been practicing for weeks, and she specifically wants to show you her performance." "Vivian, then I'll be there. Text me the details." Thursday evening, Ethan arrived at the elementary school early. The parking lot was already filling up with parents, all of them clutching phones to record their kids' performances. He spotted Vivian immediately. She'd dressed down in jeans and a simple jacket, but she still moved with that careful grace that made people turn and stare. "You made it," he said. "I told you I would." She looked around nervously. "Are people staring?" "Some of them. Ignore it." Inside the auditorium, they found seats in the middle section. Almost immediately, Ethan felt the ripple of recognition move through the crowd. Parents whispering, phones coming out, a few people not even bothering to be subtle about taking pictures. "This was a mistake," Vivian said quietly. "I'm making things worse for you." "Stop. You're here for Lily. That's all that matters." The concert started, And it was exactly as painful as Ethan had predicted. 42nd graders attempting to play recorders in unison was a special kind of auditory torture. But when Lily's class took the stage and he spotted her in the third row, looking terrified and excited, his heart swelled. She played off key, missed several notes entirely, and at one point dropped her recorder and had to scramble to pick it up. It was a disaster. It was perfect. When the concert ended, Lily ran to them, her face flushed with excitement. "Did you see me? Did you see the part where I played the high note?" "You were amazing, kiddo," Ethan said, pulling her into a hug. "Miss Vivian, did you like it?" Vivian crouched down to Lily's level. "I loved it. You were the best one up there." "Really?" "Absolutely. Though I have to ask, was dropping the recorder part of the choreography or improvisation?" Lily giggled. "That was an accident, but Mrs. Palmer says mistakes are just opportunities to be creative." Mrs. Palmer is a very wise woman. They walked to the parking lot together, Lily chattering about the concert and her friends and how Emma's parents had brought flowers. Other parents watched them pass, and Ethan heard the whispers, saw the phones tracking their movement. "Daddy, why is everyone looking at us?" Lily asked. "Because Miss Vivian is famous, kiddo. People recognize her." "Oh, because she's rich?" "Because she built an important company." Lily thought about this seriously. "I'm going to build a company someday too, but mine will sell dinosaurs." "That sounds like a solid business plan," Vivian said. In the parking lot, a reporter materialized from behind a van. Young woman with a camera crew, microphone already extended. "Ms. Hale, can you comment on reports that you're planning to sue Hale Technologies for wrongful termination?" Vivian's expression went cold. "No comment." "Mr. Ryder, how does it feel knowing you're the reason—" "We're done here," Ethan said, putting himself between the reporter and Lily. "Back off." "Just one question." "I said back off. There's a kid here. Show some decency." The reporter hesitated, then lowered the microphone. "Fine, but this story isn't going away, Mr. Ryder. People want to know the truth." "The truth is you're harassing a 7-year-old in a school parking lot. How's that for a headline?" They got Lily into Ethan's truck. He'd gotten it back from impound 2 days ago, and Vivian's SUV pulled up behind them. Through the rearview mirror, Ethan could see the reporter still filming. "I'm sorry," Vivian said through the truck window. "This is my fault. I shouldn't have come." "Don't apologize. Lily wanted you here, and that matters more than some reporter." He paused. "But we need to talk, Yeo, about where this is going and how we handle it. Tomorrow? I could come by after Lily's at school." "Yeah, tomorrow works." That night, after Lily was asleep, Ethan sat at his kitchen table and tried to make sense of everything. His life had turned into something unrecognizable. A month ago, his biggest concern was making rent. Now he was dating a former billionaire CEO, getting photographed by reporters, and somehow caught up in a criminal investigation involving stolen construction equipment. His phone buzzed. "Chen, we got him. Derek Voss picked him up 2 hours ago trying to sell stolen equipment to a fence in Beaverton. He's in custody now." Ethan sat up straight. "Did he talk?" "Not yet, but we've got enough evidence to hold him while we build the case. The equipment he was selling matches serial numbers from your work sites. We're tracing his communications with Leo, following the money trail. This is coming together." "What about Leo? Is he still cooperating?" "He's been incredible. Gave us everything: dates, locations, descriptions of the equipment, details about how Voss recruited him. The prosecutor is seriously considering the diversion program instead of prison time, especially given his mother's condition and his age." "That's good. The kid made a mistake, but he doesn't deserve to have his whole life destroyed." Ms. Hale's lawyers have been helpful on that front. They're pushing hard for leniency. Chen paused. "How is she doing?" "I haven't been able to reach her today." "Dealing with a lot. Losing the company hit her hard." "I imagine it did. But between you and me, she's better off. That board was toxic. They were always going to find a reason to push her out eventually. At least this way, she got to leave on her own terms." "Wham." After the call ended, Ethan thought about that. Had Vivian really left on her own terms? Or had she been forced into an impossible choice between her company and her personal life? Either way, the loss was real, and he could see it weighing on her. Friday morning, Vivian showed up at his apartment at 9:30 sharp. She looked tired, like she hadn't been sleeping well. Max trotted in beside her and immediately went to find Lily's room, even though Lily was at school. "He's confused," Vivian said. "Keeps looking for her." "She'll be home at 3. You want coffee?" "Please." They sat at his small kitchen table, and Ethan poured 2 cups from the cheap coffee maker that sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. Today it had cooperated. "Chen called last night," Ethan said. "They arrested Derek Voss, the guy who was running the theft operation. I heard. Chen texted me this morning, said they're building a strong case. Leo's cooperating, might avoid prison entirely. That's what I'm hoping for. His lawyer is good, one of the best defense attorneys in Portland. She thinks the judge will be sympathetic, given the circumstances." Vivian wrapped her hands around the coffee mug. "I've been thinking about what happens next. For him and his mother." "What do you mean?" "The medical treatment I'm paying for is working, but it's not a cure. Carmen, his mother, needs long-term care. Specialized treatments that are going to cost hundreds of thousands over the next few years. And even with diversion, Leo's going to have a criminal record. That makes it hard to get a decent job, get into college, build a real future. What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking I could set up a trust, something that covers Carmen's medical care indefinitely and provides for Leo's education. Maybe help him get training in a trade or pay for community college. Give him an actual chance instead of just keeping him out of prison." Ethan studied her face. "You know you can't save everyone, right? I'm not trying to save everyone. I'm trying to help one kid who made a desperate choice when he thought he had no other options. Is that so wrong?" "No, it's not wrong. It's actually pretty amazing." He reached across the table and took her hand. "But you're also dealing with losing your company. Your entire identity just got ripped away. Maybe you should focus on yourself for a while instead of trying to fix other people's problems." She pulled her hand back and he saw something flash in her eyes. Hurt, maybe. Or anger. "You think I'm doing this to avoid dealing with my own issues?" "I think you're someone who's used to being in control, and right now your life is completely out of control. Helping Leo gives you something concrete to focus on, something you can fix." "That's not fair." "Maybe not, but it's honest." He leaned forward. "Vivian, what happened to you was brutal. 22 people you trusted voted to throw you out of your own company. That's got to hurt like hell. And instead of processing that, you're diving into legal documents and trust funds and making sure a kid you barely know has his college paid for. What else am I supposed to do? Sit around feeling sorry for myself? No. But maybe acknowledge that you're allowed to be angry, allowed to grieve what you lost. You don't have to be strong and in control every second of every day." Vivian stood up abruptly. "You don't understand. Everyone is watching me right now, waiting to see if I fall apart. The media, my former board, every competitor who's been waiting for me to fail. If I show weakness, if I admit that this destroyed me, they win." "Who cares if they win? You're not a chess piece on their board anymore. You're just Vivian, and Vivian is allowed to be human." "I don't know how to be just Vivian." The words came out sharp and raw. "I've been CEO Vivian for 8 years. Before that, I was startup founder Vivian, college student Vivian, daughter of sick mother Vivian. I've always been defined by what I do, what I achieve, what I build. Without the company, I don't know who I am." Max whined softly from where he was lying in the hallway, sensing the tension. Ethan stood and walked around the table. He pulled Vivian into a hug, and after a moment of resistance, she let herself lean against him. "You're someone who laughs at convenience store misunderstandings," he said quietly. "Someone who sits on the floor playing with my daughter and a golden retriever. Someone who makes terrible jokes about profit margins when she's nervous. Someone who paid a stranger's bail because it was the right thing to do." He pulled back to look at her. "That's who you are without the company. And that person is pretty incredible." She was crying now, quiet tears that she tried to wipe away. "I'm scared, Ethan. I'm so scared that without the business and the power and all of it, I'm just empty, that there's nothing underneath worth keeping. You're not empty. You're just finally getting a chance to figure out who you are when nobody's watching, when you don't have to perform or prove anything. He kissed her forehead, and I'm going to be right here while you figure it out. Mom. They stood there in his cramped kitchen, holding each other while Max watched anxiously from the hallway. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent to personal crises and broken hearts and uncertain futures. Eventually, Vivian pulled away and wiped her eyes properly. I'm a mess. Yeah, but you're my mess. She laughed, shaky but real. That was terrible. I know, I'm working on my romantic dialogue. It needs work. It really does. They spent the rest of the morning just talking. Vivian told him about the legal battles ahead, lawsuits over intellectual property, fights over non-compete clauses, arguments about severance packages. Ethan told her about the reporter who'd tried to interview him at the work site, about Marcus threatening to quit if corporate didn't provide better security. Your boss sounds intense, Vivian said. He's protective. Good guy, just rough around the edges. Kind of like someone else I know, Shasam. Are you calling me rough around the edges? I'm calling you human. There's a difference. At 3 o'clock, they picked up Lily from school together. The other parents stared, some whispered, but Lily didn't notice. She was too excited about an art project she'd made. A painting of what looked like either a rainbow or a crime scene. It was hard to tell. It's a sunset, Lily explained proudly, with dinosaurs watching it. I love the creative interpretation of color theory, Vivian said seriously. What's color theory? The art of making things whatever color you want and calling it intentional. Lily beamed. That's what I did! Back at the apartment, Lily insisted on teaching Max new tricks. The dog, to his credit, was patient while a 7-year-old tried to make him balance a stuffed dinosaur on his nose. Ethan and Vivian watched from the couch, and for a little while, everything felt almost normal, like they were just two people spending time together rather than tabloid headlines and former CEOs and construction workers caught in an impossible situation. I could get used to this, Vivian said quietly. What, watching my daughter torture your dog? This. Normal. Simple evenings with no board meetings or investor calls or corporate emergencies. She leaned against him. I spent so long chasing bigger and better that I forgot what it felt like to just exist. It's pretty nice, right? It really is. That weekend, everything changed again. Saturday morning, Ethan's phone rang at 7 a.m. Unknown number, but something made him answer. Mr. Ryder, this is Sarah Chen, investigative reporter with the Portland Tribune. I'm working on a story about the theft ring that's been targeting construction sites. I understand your truck was used in several of the robberies. Ethan's brain was still foggy with sleep. How did you get this number? Public records. Mr. Ryder, I've been investigating Derek Voss for 6 months. He's part of a much larger operation. Organized crime connections, ties to drug trafficking, weapons smuggling. The construction thefts are just one small piece. That woke him up completely. What are you talking about? Dorsey, sorry. Voss works for someone. Someone with serious money and serious connections. The thefts aren't random. They're targeting specific properties for specific reasons. And those properties have one thing in common. They're all either owned by or being developed by Hale Technologies. Why are you telling me this? Because you're dating Vivian Hale, and because I think you both might be in more danger than you realize. Ethan sat up. What kind of danger? The kind where people with organized crime connections don't like loose ends. Leo Martinez can identify Voss. Voss can identify his employer. That's a liability. And liabilities have a way of disappearing in this world. You need to go to the police with this. I already have. But I wanted to warn you directly. Watch your back, Mr. Ryder, and tell Miss Hale to watch hers. The call ended and Ethan immediately dialed Chen. The security specialist answered on the second ring. We know, Chen said before Ethan could speak. Sarah Chen from the Tribune contacted us yesterday. We're taking her information seriously. How serious? Serious enough that I'm recommending increased security for both you and Ms. Hale. And serious enough that we're moving Leo and his mother to a secure location until the investigation is complete. Who's behind this? Who's Voss working for? We're still trying to determine that, But Ms. Chen's research points to someone with connections to the Russian mob, someone who's been using construction site thefts to launder money and fund other operations. Chen paused. This is bigger than we thought, Ethan. A lot bigger. After the call, Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, his mind racing. Organized crime, money laundering, people who made other people disappear. This had gone from a simple theft case to something that could get people killed. He called Vivian immediately. Chen told me, she said. I'm arranging for private security. For you, for Lily, for my properties. This isn't a risk I'm willing to take. Maybe you should step back from all of this. Let the police handle it. I can't. Leo's safety is my responsibility. I'm the one who paid his bail, who got him to cooperate with investigators. If something happens to him because of that, nothing's going to happen. Chen's moving him and his mother somewhere safe. I know, but I want my own people on it too, people I trust. Her voice was tight. I've already lost my company, Ethan. I'm not losing a 17-year-old kid because I didn't take this seriously enough. Over the next week, security became the new normal. A discreet detail followed Ethan to and from work. Another team watched Lily's school. Vivian's penthouse had guards at every entrance. Chen coordinated everything, updating them daily on the investigation's progress. Derek Voss had lawyered up and wasn't talking, but investigators were piecing together his connections, following money trails, interviewing associates. The picture emerging was ugly, a sophisticated criminal network using legitimate construction projects as cover for illegal activities. And at the center of it all was a name that kept coming up, Nikolai Petrov. Russian immigrant, legitimate businessman on paper, suspected crime boss in reality. He owned a dozen shell companies, all of them somehow connected to construction or real estate development. He's been trying to buy into Portland's development scene for years, Chen explained during a meeting at Vivian's penthouse. But legitimate developers won't work with him. Too much baggage, too many questions about where his money comes from. So he's been using theft and intimidation to insert himself anyway. And he targeted my properties specifically? Vivian asked. Your properties, your competitors' properties? Anyone who wouldn't play ball with him. The thefts serve multiple purposes. They generate income, they destabilize projects, and they send a message. What message? That nobody's untouchable, not even billionaire CEOs. Chen pulled up photos on his laptop. Petrov operates through intermediaries. Derek Voss is one of several people doing his dirty work. But Voss got sloppy, recruited the wrong kid, and now the whole operation is exposed. Ethan leaned forward. What happens to Leo now? If Petrov sees him as a threat, Leo's safe. He and his mother are in a secure facility under federal protection. Witness protection is being discussed if the case goes to trial. Chen closed the laptop. But we need to talk about you two. Petrov knows Vivian paid Leo's bail. He knows you're involved. That makes you both potential targets. Targets for what? Vivian's voice was sharp. Intimidation? Violence? Both. These people don't mess around. If they think you're a threat to their operation, they'll act. Ethan felt his chest tighten. This was so far beyond anything he'd signed up for. He just wanted to take a woman to dinner, maybe build something real. Now he was talking about witness protection and organized crime. What do you recommend? He asked. Stay visible. Stay in public spaces when possible. Maintain the security details. And for both of you, don't be heroes. If you see anything suspicious, you call me immediately. Don't investigate. Don't confront. Just call. After Chen left, Vivian paced her penthouse like a caged animal. Max followed her anxiously, sensing her agitation. This is insane, she said. I'm a tech CEO. Former tech CEO, not some action movie character. I don't know how to deal with Russian mobsters and federal protection. None of us do. But we've got good people helping us. Chen knows what he's doing. Does he? Because from where I'm standing, everything keeps getting worse. First the thefts, then the board revolt, now organized crime. Where does it end? It ends when they arrest Petrov and dismantle his operation. And how long will that take? Months? Years? Am I supposed to live with security guards in constant fear until some federal prosecutor builds a case? Ethan didn't have an answer for that. He moved to where she was standing and took her hand, stilling her pacing. We're going to get through this. he said. I don't know how, and I don't know when, but we will. Together. Well, she looked at him with those green eyes, and he saw the fear there. Real, raw fear that she'd been trying to hide behind anger and action. I'm scared, she whispered. Not just for me. For you. For Lily. If something happened to either of you because of my choices, stop. This isn't your fault. You didn't create this situation. You just happened to own properties that a criminal wanted to target. That's not on you. But getting involved with Leo, paying his bail, pushing him to testify, that put him at risk. That made me a target. You did what was right. You saw a kid in trouble and you helped him. That's not something to regret. She leaned against him, and they stood there in the middle of her massive, empty penthouse, holding on to each other like the world outside was trying to pull them apart. I don't know how to do this, Vivian said. How to be vulnerable. How to accept that I can't control everything. How to just trust that things will work out. Nobody knows how. We're all just making it up as we go along. Ethan kissed the top of her head. But you're not doing it alone. That's got to count for something. The next morning, Lily asked why the man in the car kept following them to school. He's just making sure we're safe, kiddo. Safe from what? Just safe? It's his job. Is it because of Vivian? Because she's famous? Sort of. Some people are interested in her, and we want to make sure everyone stays safe. Lily thought about this seriously. I like Vivian. She's nice, and she doesn't talk to me like I'm a baby. She is nice. Are you going to marry her? The question caught him off guard. I don't know, Lily. We're still figuring things out. But you love her, right? Did he? He'd been so focused on day-to-day survival, on managing the chaos, that he hadn't stopped to actually examine his feelings. But now, standing outside Lily's school, watching his daughter look at him with those knowing 7-year-old eyes, he realized the answer was obvious. Yeah, he said quietly. I think I do. Then you should tell her. That's what Emma says her mom says. You're supposed to tell people you love them so they know. Emma's mom gives a lot of advice. She watches a lot of romantic movies. That night, after Lily was asleep, Ethan texted Vivian. Ethan, can you come over? I need to talk to you about something. Vivian, that sounds ominous. Should I be worried? Ethan, no, just need to say something in person. She arrived 30 minutes later, still dressed in the business casual she'd been wearing to meetings with lawyers all day. Max stayed in the car. Even he seemed to sense this was a conversation that needed to happen without a dog as a buffer. What's going on? Vivian asked as soon as she was inside. You're making me nervous. Lily asked me today if I love you. Vivian went very still. Oh. And I realized I didn't have a good answer. Not because I don't know, but because I've been so busy trying to survive all of this that I haven't actually stopped to think about what we are to each other. Ethan, let me finish, please. He took a breath. A month ago, my life was simple. Boring maybe, but simple. Work, Lily, bills, repeat. Then you showed up in a parking lot with your dog and accused me of theft, and everything changed. My truck got stolen, reporters started following me. I got involved with organized crime investigations. My life became completely insane. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not. That's what I'm trying to say. My life is insane now, but it's also fuller, richer, more real than it's been in years. He moved closer to her. You make me want to be better. You make me think about the future instead of just surviving the present. You make my daughter laugh and you paid a stranger's bail because it was the right thing to do, and you cry when you think nobody's watching. And yeah, Vivian, I love you completely, terrifyingly. Can't imagine my life without you anymore. Love you. She was crying again, but this time she was smiling through it. You're an idiot. Probably. A complete idiot for falling in love with a woman who just lost everything and comes with federal investigations and Russian mobsters. The worst decision I've ever made. Absolutely terrible judgment. The actual worst. She kissed him, hard and desperate and full of all the emotion she usually kept locked away. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. I love you too, she said. Which proves I'm an even bigger idiot than you are. Probably. They stood there in his cramped living room, holding each other and laughing because what else could they do? The world outside was complicated and dangerous and completely uncertain. But in that moment, they had each other, and somehow that felt like enough. 3 weeks later, Chen called with news that changed everything. We got him. Nikolai Petrov was arrested this morning at his estate in Lake Oswego. Federal agents, Portland PD, the whole operation. They found evidence of money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy to commit theft. He's looking at 20 years minimum. Ethan was at the worksite when the call came. He stepped away from the crew, his heart pounding. What about Leo? Is he safe now? Leo and his mother are being moved out of protective custody. The threat level just dropped significantly with Petrov in federal custody. Derek Voss is cooperating now too, gave up everything in exchange for a reduced sentence. The whole network is collapsing. So it's over? The immediate danger? Yes. The legal proceedings will take months, probably years, but you and Ms. Hale can stop looking over your shoulders. Chen paused. You should tell her. She's been waiting for this news. Ethan called Vivian immediately. She answered on the first ring. Chen just called me, she said before he could speak. Petrov's in custody. Yeah, it's over. There was a long silence on the other end. Then he heard her crying. Not sad tears, but the kind of crying that comes from releasing weeks of tension all at once. I can't believe it's actually over, she said. I keep waiting for something else to go wrong. Nothing's going wrong. We're safe. Leo's safe. The bad guys are in jail. This is what winning looks like. It doesn't feel like winning. It feels like I can finally breathe for the first time in a month. That's probably what winning feels like when you've been drowning. She laughed through the tears. Can I see you tonight? I need to see you in person. Come to dinner. I'm making spaghetti. Lily's been asking when you'd visit again. I'll be there at 6. That evening, Vivian arrived with flowers for Lily and a bottle of wine that probably cost more than Ethan's monthly grocery budget. Lily shrieked with delight when she saw Max and immediately dragged the dog to her room to show him a new stuffed animal collection. She's reorganized her entire room by dinosaur species, Ethan explained. It's very scientific. Of course it is. Vivian set the wine on the counter and looked around the apartment. I've missed this place. It's the same cramped apartment it's always been. I know. But it feels like home in a way my penthouse never has. She moved closer to him. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. What home actually means. And what does it mean? It means the place where people know you, really know you, not the version you perform for the world, where you can be messy and scared and human. She took his hand. This apartment with the water-stained ceiling and the creaky furniture, this feels more like home than anywhere I've lived in the past decade. Ethan kissed her, soft and slow, and for a moment everything was perfect. Then Lily's voice called from the bedroom. Dad! Max knocked over my T-Rex display and now the Cretaceous period is all mixed up with the Jurassic. That's historically inaccurate, Vivian called back. I know! That's why it's an emergency. Besky. Mans. They spent dinner laughing while Lily explained the complex social dynamics of her second-grade class and why Emma was temporarily demoted from best friend status due to a disagreement about which dinosaur would win in a fight. Vivian listened with genuine interest, asking follow-up questions and taking Lily's concerns seriously. After Lily went to bed, Ethan and Vivian sat on the couch with the cheap wine she'd brought and talked about the future. Leo's lawyer called me today, Vivian said. The prosecutor offered a plea deal. Probation, community service, no prison time. Leo's record will be sealed when he turns 18. That's incredible. His mother's treatment is working too. The doctors are cautiously optimistic. Not cured, but manageable. She took a sip of wine. I set up the trust like I planned. Education fund, medical expenses, living costs until Leo's 25. After that, he's on his own. But you're giving that kid a real chance. I'm giving him what everyone deserves, a second chance after making a desperate mistake. The system's designed to destroy people like Leo. Poor kid, sick parent, one bad decision, and suddenly his entire future is gone. I'm just leveling the playing field a little. Ethan studied her face in the dim apartment lighting. She looked different than she had a month ago. Less polished, maybe, but more real. The billionaire armor had cracked, And underneath was just a woman trying to figure out who she was without the title and the power. "What about you?" he asked. "What's next for Vivian Hale, former CEO?" "I don't know. I've been in meetings with lawyers all week about non-compete clauses and intellectual property. The board is trying to prevent me from starting a new tech company for 3 years. They're worried I'll become competition. Will you start a new company?" "Oh, maybe. Eventually. But not right now. Right now I'm trying to figure out who I am when I'm not building empires and fighting boardroom battles." She set down her wine glass. "I've been so focused on proving everyone wrong for so long that I forgot to ask myself what I actually want. What makes me happy beyond success and validation? Any answers yet?" "Well, yes. Some. I know I'm happier sitting in your cramped apartment eating spaghetti than I ever was in a boardroom. I know I'd rather spend time with your daughter and my dog than at another investor meeting. I know that losing my company was the worst thing that ever happened to me, but it also forced me to realize that I'd built my entire identity on something external, something that could be taken away." She turned to face him fully. "And I know that I want to build a life, not just a company, a real life with real relationships and real meaning." "That sounds healthy. It sounds terrifying. I have no idea how to do it. I'm 30 years old and I'm learning basic life skills that most people figured out in their 20s. You're not alone in that. I'm 32 and I'm learning how to date someone without completely screwing it up. We're both figuring this out as we go. Are you screwing it up?" "Probably, but you haven't dumped me yet, so I'm taking that as a good sign." She laughed and kissed him, and they stayed on the couch talking until midnight. About work and Lily and Leo and the strange path that had brought them together. About the future and what it might hold. About the possibility of building something real together, something that couldn't be voted away by a board or destroyed by outside forces. "I'm thinking about moving," Vivian said eventually. "The penthouse is too big, too empty, too much a symbol of everything I lost." "Where would you go?" "I don't know. Somewhere smaller. Somewhere that feels like an actual home instead of a showroom." She paused, then added carefully, "Maybe somewhere close to here." Ethan's heart did something complicated. "How close?" "That depends. Would you want me close?" "Lily would love having you nearby. She asks about you constantly." "I asked about you, not Lily. I'd love having you nearby. But you need to be sure this is what you want. Moving to this neighborhood, leaving the penthouse, being with a guy who works construction and has a 7-year-old, that's a big change from the life you're used to." "The life I'm used to made me miserable," Vivian said bluntly. "Rich and powerful and completely alone. I don't want that anymore. I want this. Messy, complicated, imperfect this." 2 months later, Vivian moved into a townhouse 3 blocks from Ethan's apartment. It wasn't the penthouse. It was a modest 2-bedroom with a small yard where Max could run. But it had big windows and neighbors who actually talked to each other and a coffee shop on the corner that knew how she liked her morning latte. Lily helped her unpack, offering design advice that mostly involved putting dinosaur pictures in every room. Ethan assembled furniture while Max supervised, and by the end of the day, Vivian had something that actually felt like a home. "It's perfect," she said, standing in the middle of her new living room. "Small and perfect." "You're adapting to normal life pretty well," Ethan observed. "I had a good teacher." She pulled him close. "Thank you for being patient with me while I figured all this out. You're worth the patience." That evening, they walked to the convenience store where they'd first met. The same fluorescent lights, the same parking lot, the same slightly suspicious clerk behind the counter. Ethan bought milk and smoked sausages, a tradition now, something they did every few weeks just to remember where it all started. In the parking lot, under the flickering neon sign, Ethan pulled out one of the sausages and handed it to Max. The dog took it gently, tail wagging. "Still can't believe you accused me of theft because your dog likes cheap meat," Ethan said. In my defense, Max is usually very professional about his alerts. "He alerted to food, Vivian. That's the opposite of professional. He was having an off day. We all have off days." Ish. They stood there in the parking lot, and Ethan thought about everything that had happened since that rainy night. The stolen truck, the investigation, the media storm, Vivian losing her company, the organized crime connections, all of it. Any rational person would have run from that level of chaos. But standing there with Vivian, with Max happily destroying a sausage at their feet, Ethan realized he wouldn't change a single thing. The chaos had been worth it. The complications had led to something real, something that mattered more than stability or safety, or any of the things he'd thought he wanted. "I have a question," Vivian said, breaking into his thoughts. "Yeah? That first night, when you texted me after I'd accused you of theft, why did you do it? Most people would have just been glad to get away from me." Ethan thought about it. "Because you laughed. In that parking lot, when you realized your dog had alerted to sausages, you actually laughed. Real and surprised and human. And I thought anyone who could laugh at themselves like that might be worth getting to know. So you pursued me because I have a sense of humor about my own mistakes? Okay. I pursued you because you were real for about 5 seconds. And I wanted to see if there was more realness underneath all that billionaire armor. And was there? So much. More than you knew how to show at first. More than you were comfortable with." He took her hand. "But you figured it out. You let yourself be messy and scared and human. That's brave, Vivian. Braver than running a company or fighting a board or any of it." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I've been thinking about Leo lately, about how one desperate choice almost destroyed his entire future, and how lucky he was that someone saw past the mistake to the person underneath. You did that. You saw a scared kid instead of a criminal. We both did. You were the one who said he deserved compassion, remember? In the car that night when they arrested him. You saw his humanity when I was still thinking about stolen property and corporate losses." She squeezed his hand. "You taught me that. How to see people instead of problems. How to lead with empathy instead of judgment. I think you already knew that. You just needed permission to act on it." They walked back to Vivian's new townhouse, Max trotting happily between them. Inside, Lily was asleep on the couch. She'd been helping unpack all day and had crashed hard around 8 p.m. Ethan carried her to his truck while Vivian gathered Lily's scattered belongings. "Same time next week?" Vivian asked. "I'm thinking of trying to cook an actual meal instead of ordering takeout for the 40th time." "You cook?" "I'm learning. How hard can it be?" "Very hard based on what I know about you and kitchens. I'll prove you wrong." "I'm looking forward to it." He kissed her goodnight, then drove Lily home through quiet streets. His daughter stirred as he was carrying her inside. "Is Vivian going to be my mom?" Lily asked sleepily. "I don't know, kiddo. Would you want that?" "Yeah, she's nice. And Max is the best." "Those are pretty good reasons. Do you want her to be?" "Yes." Ethan tucked Lily into bed, brushing hair back from her forehead. "Yeah, I think I do." "Then you should ask her, like how Prince Charming asks in the movies." "Life isn't like the movies, Lily." "It could be, if you tried." Over the next few months, life settled into a new rhythm. Ethan worked his construction jobs, Vivian consulted for a few tech startups while figuring out her next move, and Lily divided her time between both households like it was the most natural thing in the world. Max became a permanent fixture in their lives, and Mrs. Chen stopped even pretending to be surprised when Vivian showed up for dinner. Leo graduated from his diversion program and enrolled in community college to study engineering. His mother's cancer went into remission, not cured, but stable. They sent Vivian and Ethan a thank you card every month, and once, Leo showed up at Ethan's worksite just to say hello and meet the crew. "I'm studying mechanical engineering," Leo told them. "Going to design better construction equipment that's harder to steal." Marcus had clapped the kid on the shoulder and offered him a summer internship. "We could use someone who actually understands how this stuff works instead of just swinging hammers." Derek Voss took a plea deal and was sentenced to 8 years. Nikolai Petrov went to trial and was convicted on 14 counts, facing 25 years in federal prison. The theft ring collapsed completely, and construction sites across Portland reported a significant drop in equipment losses. The media eventually lost interest in Vivian's story. There were new scandals, new headlines, new billionaires making news. The reporters stopped calling, the photographers stopped following them, and slowly, life became something close to normal. On a Saturday in late summer, Ethan and Vivian took Lily to Washington Park for a picnic, the same park where they'd walked after their first dinner together, where Vivian had admitted she was lonely, where everything had started to shift between them. Lily and Max ran ahead, chasing each other across the grass. Ethan and Vivian followed at a slower pace, carrying the picnic basket and blankets. "I made a decision," Vivian said as they spread out the blanket, "about what's next." "Yeah?" "I'm starting a new company. Not tech this time, nonprofit. Focused on helping people like Leo, kids who made mistakes, who got caught up in bad situations, who need a second chance. Education funding, legal support, job training, all of it. That's perfect for you." Or I'm calling it Second Chances Foundation. Very on the nose, I know, but sometimes obvious is best. She sat down on the blanket. "I've been meeting with lawyers and nonprofit experts. It's going to take time to set up properly, but I'm excited about it. More excited than I've been about work in years. Because it matters. Because it's personal. Because I know what it's like to feel like everything's falling apart and you have no options. I had money and resources to rebuild. Most people don't. This levels the field." Ethan sat beside her. "You're going to change a lot of lives." "I hope so. I wasted a lot of time building something that ultimately didn't matter. A tech company that made rich people richer. This feels like doing something that actually counts." They watched Lily and Max play, the summer sun warm on their faces. Around them, other families were having picnics, playing frisbee, living their normal Saturday lives. A year ago, Vivian would have been in a boardroom somewhere. Ethan would have been working overtime to cover bills. Neither of them would have believed they'd end up here. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said. "Always." "Are you happy? Really happy? Not just okay?" Vivian thought about it seriously. "I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm not running a billion-dollar company or making headlines or proving anything to anyone. I'm just living, spending time with people I care about, working on something meaningful, figuring out who I am outside of achievements and titles. That's a different kind of happiness than I've known before. Quieter, more real. Good, you deserve that shit. So do you. You spent so long just surviving, just getting through each day. You deserve to actually live too. I am living, with you and Lily and that ridiculous dog who still alerts to sausages. Max has distinguished tastes. Max has no standards whatsoever." Lily ran back to them, out of breath and grinning. "Dad, can we get ice cream after the picnic?" "Maybe." "Vivian, can you convince him?" "I don't know, Lily. Ice cream is a pretty big decision. We should probably vote on it." Maurice-san. "I vote yes." "That's one vote." "Ethan?" "I vote for whatever means I don't have to listen to negotiations for the next hour." "That's a yes. Motion carries. Ice cream it is." After the picnic, they walked to the ice cream shop near the park entrance. The same one where Ethan used to take Lily when money was especially tight and they needed something to look forward to. Now they weren't scraping by anymore. Ethan's business was stable. Vivian had her settlement from Hale Technologies, and together they had enough to not worry about every dollar. Standing in line, Lily holding both their hands, Ethan realized this was what he'd been working toward his whole life. Not wealth or success or anything dramatic, just this. Simple moments with people he loved, security enough to not be constantly afraid, the knowledge that tomorrow would be okay. "What are you thinking about?" Vivian asked. "How far we've come, how different everything is from a year ago." "Good different or bad different?" "The best different." He kissed her forehead. "The absolute best." They ordered ice cream, chocolate for Lily, vanilla for Ethan, something complicated with 3 different flavors for Vivian, and ate it while walking back through the park. Max got his own cup of vanilla, which he destroyed in approximately 4 seconds. As the sun started setting, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, they made their way back to the parking lot. The same parking lot where this had all started, where a billionaire CEO and a construction worker had met over a false accusation and a golden retriever's love of processed meat. Ethan stopped walking. "Wait here a second. Why?" "Just trust me." He jogged to his truck and pulled out the plastic bag he'd hidden under the seat that morning. Inside was a small box, and inside that box was a ring. Nothing extravagant. He wasn't a billionaire and didn't pretend to be. but something real and solid and meant to last. When he came back, Vivian was watching him with a confused expression. Lily, however, was grinning like she knew exactly what was happening. "Vivian Hale," Ethan said, "a year ago, you accused me of theft in this parking lot. You were wrong about the theft, but you were right about one thing. There was something suspicious going on. I was about to steal your heart, and you were about to steal mine." "That's the worst line I've ever heard," Vivian said, but she was smiling. "I know. I told you my romantic dialogue needs work. But here's the truth. You changed my life. You made me believe in possibilities again. You showed my daughter what it looks like when someone is brilliant and kind and human all at the same time. You built yourself back up from nothing and turned loss into purpose. And somewhere in all of that, you became the person I can't imagine living without." He got down on one knee, and Vivian's hands flew to her mouth. "Will you marry me? Will you be a permanent part of this messy, complicated, perfectly imperfect life we're building together?" Vivian was crying again, but she was also laughing. "You're proposing in a convenience store parking lot? It's our parking lot. Where else would I do it? Literally anywhere fancier? Fancy isn't us. This is us. Real and messy and slightly ridiculous." She dropped to her knees in front of him, not caring that the parking lot was dirty, not caring that people were staring. "Yes. Obviously, yes. I love you, you idiot. I love you too." He slipped the ring on her finger, and Lily cheered loud enough that people in the convenience store came outside to see what was happening. Max barked excitedly, his tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. They kissed in the parking lot while strangers applauded, and Lily took approximately 40 photos on Vivian's phone. It wasn't elegant or sophisticated or anything that would make a good magazine spread. It was perfect exactly because it was real. Later, after they'd celebrated with more ice cream and Lily had called Mrs. Chen to share the news, after Max had been congratulated at least a dozen times for his role in bringing them together, Ethan and Vivian stood by his truck just looking at each other. "I can't believe you proposed in a parking lot," Vivian said. "I can't believe you said yes. Where else would I say yes? This is where everything started, where a lonely billionaire and an exhausted single dad found each other because of a stolen truck and a dog who really loves sausages." When you put it that way, it sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but it's our ridiculous. She looked down at the ring on her finger. "I spent so many years chasing success and validation, building empires and proving myself to people who didn't matter. And I was miserable, empty. Then I lost everything, and in losing everything, I found this. Found you. Found what actually matters." Ooh. What's that? Oh, connection. Love. Being known by someone who sees all your flaws and chooses you anyway. Building a life instead of just a resume. She took his hand. "You taught me that. You and Lily. You showed me that happiness isn't about achieving or succeeding or being the best. It's about being human with other humans. Being vulnerable and messy and real." Ethan pulled her close. "You taught me stuff too. You taught me that it's okay to want more than just survival. That I'm worth more than just getting by. That my daughter deserves to see me building something instead of just enduring." They stood there in the parking lot as the last light faded from the sky, holding each other and watching Lily play with Max under the flickering neon sign. A year ago, this would have seemed impossible. A billionaire and a construction worker, from completely different worlds, building something real together. But maybe that was the point. Maybe the best things in life were the ones that seemed impossible until suddenly they weren't. Maybe love wasn't about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone real and choosing to build something together despite the complications. Maybe second chances weren't just for kids who made desperate mistakes. Maybe they were for lonely CEOs who forgot how to be human, for single fathers who thought their dreams were dead, for anyone who'd ever felt like they were drowning and needed someone to remind them how to breathe. In the end, it wasn't money or power or success that saved them. It wasn't even love, though that helped. It was the simple choice to be honest with each other, to be vulnerable when it would have been easier to hide, to build something real when the world was offering them 50 easier alternatives. Vivian had lost a billion-dollar company and found a family. Ethan had lost his privacy and found a partnership. Together, they'd lost their illusions about what mattered and found something infinitely more valuable. each other. The convenience store clerk came outside for a cigarette break and nodded at them. "You guys okay? You've been standing there for like 20 minutes. "We're great," Ethan said. "Just remembering." Remembering what? Where it all started. The clerk shrugged and went back inside. In the distance, Lily called out that Max had learned a new trick. Cars passed on the street, people living their lives, completely unaware of the small miracle happening in a parking lot on an ordinary Saturday night. But Ethan and Vivian knew. They knew that sometimes the best things start in the most unlikely places. That sometimes losing everything is the only way to find what actually matters. That sometimes the person who accuses you of theft in a parking lot ends up stealing your heart instead. And standing there together, with a ring on Vivian's finger and Lily's laughter echoing across the parking lot, and Max destroying another sausage because some things never change, they both understood the truth. Love wasn't about being perfect or powerful or having all the answers. It was about showing up, being honest, choosing each other even when it was hard, especially when it was hard, building something real in a world full of pretense and performance. It was about finding home in another person, not because they completed you or fixed you or made everything easy, but because they saw you, really saw you, and decided you were worth the effort anyway. That was what Vivian had found in a construction worker with calloused hands and a 7-year-old daughter. That was what Ethan had found in a billionaire with armor she'd forgotten how to remove. They'd both been drowning in their own ways. And somehow, impossibly, they'd saved each other. Not with money or power or grand gestures, but with the simple act of being human together, of laughing in parking lots and crying in boardrooms and building a life from the wreckage of everything they'd thought they wanted. It wasn't the story either of them expected, but standing there together, it was the only story that mattered, the only one they'd ever need.